got the greatest text in my life the other day.
Go on.
Oh boy.
My friend Alex Shea, you guys know.
Oh, shout out to the homie.
We
Shout out
know
to Alex.
Alex. Absolute legend.
Said, do you know that there is a Snoopy face for the Apple Watch? And every single time you like turn your arm, it activates and there is a different animation. And I'm not even being funny. Like, I use an Apple Watch just to track steps and whatever. It's now giving me so much joy. Like,
You're just doing these all day?
I'm just checking.
See what Snoopy's doing.
It's not turning up.
Like, what's he doing?
There it is. Oh, what's he doing now?
like
He's
his
falling
thing.
off.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Anyway, I'm having a great time. Like, at this point in life, with everything that's happening in the world, that stupid little beagle is giving me so much happiness.
There is a lot happening in the world right now.
It's like the Blade Runner with him staring at the pink neon, and it's just you staring at your Snoopy Apple, your little animated dog on your fucking digital watch.
Sometimes Woodstock comes in too. Don't worry.
That's the bird, right?
That's the little bird.
That's the little guy.
Yeah, that's the
what's
cute
his
little-
deal?
He's just a little.
Are they like a
baby.
thing?
No. Well, they're friends.
Okay.
But they're not like dating.
They give off like old Bert and Ernie, like they just like they're roommates.
Yeah.
They're stuck together. At this
They
point, they
were
kind of maybe
roommates.
hate each other, but they've been together for so long.
Yeah.
Is that the vibe of Bert and Ernie, though, Jake? Come on, man. I think there's another vibe there.
It's a
There's
children's
another
show.
vibe
I
there.
don't
Let's
know.
be real.
Yeah, I
Come on,
thought
man.
something very different about Bert and Ernie.
Yeah, so did I.
Well, what is this show? What are we doing? This is
Gaming.
I'm here to talk about. I think we're here to talk about video games.
Yes.
So-
Welcome everybody to the Friends Per Second podcast. It's episode 49, believe it or not, of this bi-weekly podcast where we gather sometimes with other friends to talk about video games and stuff. How are you folks doing?
It's been a couple of weeks. There's I tell you what, on the video games front, it's been pretty chill.
Quiet.
And it's and I kind of wish it was busier because it would distract us from all the other shit
Yeah.
going on in the world.
true.
But on the video games front, it's been quiet, which is kind of nice given the madness of June, everything that went down. You know, it was a lot. We had like summer games, and we had, you know, was it Erdtree, and there was something else big. Oh yeah, Destiny launched. You know, like for me personally, that was big. So there's a lot that month, and now this month there's like not a lot. Concord,
Which we will
question
talk
mark,
about.
which we will talk about, and like yeah, that's kind of like there was actually the biggest release of this month was meant to be Frostpunk 2.
Oh, yeah.
and then that got bumped to September now. Otherwise, it's just really quiet, and that's been kind of good to kick back and like relax a little bit.
Yeah, and catch up. You know, like I still have needed to play Still Wakes the Deep. I really want to play that, so I'm gonna start that probably tonight because
Oh, hell yeah.
Concord, I played that and I have feelings, so I can move on from that.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Or
As
maybe
in, like
feelings
a lot
like lack of feelings.
Yeah, that's
okay,
what I'm saying.
right.
A lot of people are like, I feel nothing. You know?
I don't know what.
So,
It's complicated for. I almost said Fortnite.
Well, I can feel it. I'm actually interested to hear your thoughts on Concord, given that you were a massive Overwatch fan for a long time.
Yeah, for my sins.
And now like reformed, obviously. And this was meant to. You are the target market for this
I
game.
know.
You're like, hey, you think Overwatch is boring now? Come play this game.
I'm the mark.
And then.
So we'll get to that. We do have a lot to talk about, a lot of games and stuff, some great user questions as well that I'm looking forward to jumping into. Along with that, we also have a small announcement. Lucy, would you like to tell us about our shiny, fancy newsletter?
I know. We're getting in the newsletter game, guys. No. Like, we've been talking about doing this for ages because I've changed the way I kind of consume a lot of media, and I got really into newsletters, and we were talking about it. And we're very aware that we talk about a lot of things. Like, we'll release 1, 2.5, 3-hour episode every 2 weeks, and we cover so much ground, and we frequently get comments being like, does anyone know what game that was? I get tweets, I get DMs being like, hey, was it you who mentioned that game or that show or something?
And it usually was. Who was it that mentioned that weird little game? About
Always
a
was.
weird little freak, or like a little potions master goblin, or like who's like, you know, sleeping in bed. It's a Lucy game.
God, that was such a perfect read on like stuff that I like. But no, so we thought it would be a nice idea to put together a little newsletter that comes out with every episode. So if you're watching it right now, it should be live if you go to friendspersecond.substack.com. It's basically just a recap of everything we talked about. If we are discussing, a piece of investigative journalism that we go into detail on, and you want to go back and watch it, there'll be a link to it. There'll also be links to stuff that we just think is cool, maybe some fun little behind the scenes tidbits and pictures, and also because we don't have a Discord or anything, but we do love to field user questions. We obviously have the email address, but Substack has a comment section, and we, if you are enjoying it and you have user questions, we'll also field them from there. And so it's a free thing you can sign up for, just a little extra thing from us
it's not annoying
to you. Yeah.
It's not annoying.
Most important.
I am actually subscribed to multiple newsletters of different varieties. Some of them are like, news rundown. Some of them are like kind of opinion based, like a column or whatever. It's a world that I've actually spent a lot of time in the last 2 years, I'd say. And there's a lot of value in it, to be perfectly honest with you. Like, I really do recommend checking out. Like, obviously, ours.
I was gonna say, I get yours.
Functional. Which, of course you do, on Patreon. That's right, exactly right. Yeah, but I mean, I think on the Substack side of things, it's good because there's a lot that happens there that you just don't really know about. A lot of smaller authors or like very experienced game journalists who are writing on there who are kind of like in a later phase of their career where they're like, I just want to just do my own thing independently now. And I find some really good stuff there. So I really do recommend taking a look around and seeing what you see, because I think you'll find some cool stuff.
I would love to dive in. Maybe we'll do a segment, one episode, or maybe a user question or something where we talk about some of them. Because there is a lot of value.
It's a great idea, actually.
Yeah.
It's a really good idea because I have 10.
I've got a lot
of the different things that I'm subscribed to on that front to like get news, get opinion. Like, that's a really good idea, actually, for sure.
It's a nice way to break away from the like signal noise, so to speak.
I think so.
I don't know. Like, there's something for me. Like, it sounds so silly, but like sitting down with like a tablet and just looking at my inbox and then reading newsletters. I just find more, because I'm only getting so much of that value out of websites now. And then like social media is just like a shitstorm. So it's like a nice contained thing. It's the closest I get now to like cracking open a newspaper. I used to read physical newspapers. Okay.
Me too. Me too.
On my lunch break, dude, I would hit the newspaper.
We were the last generation. Yeah. That was it, man. After us, because we were uncool to read newspapers back when we were reading newspapers. Yeah. And now they're properly cooked, like they're done. You know what I mean? But it's such a shame because the newspaper ruled, man. Yeah. It was this big ass thing. It was the broadsheet, or do you guys have little tablet size?
No, we had the big ones.
We have big ones.
Oh yeah, the broadsheets.
Yeah, I mean, coming from the UK.
Is so good. We have to you do these ones, fold it like 18 times to like do these ones, and you get into this little thing. And God, I miss it, man. It was sick.
I was a paper girl, and on a Sunday, those broadsheets would be a pain in my ass because they would have so many magazines and stuff in the middle of them that they wouldn't even fit in people's letterboxes, and I used to have to take the magazines out, and they would hate me for it. But you won't have to do that.
You had so many jobs. You're like,
we're not Substack.
Billy Madison. I've had lots of jobs.
Yes. A pound around, which is insane to think about. That was in 2008 money, maybe earlier.
What?
Yeah, like 2005.
Oh, right,
2005 money, a pound around.
Oh, a pound around. Okay.
A pound around.
Okay, yep, okay. Yeah. Phrasing, Lucy.
I know,
Phrasing.
I'm sorry. Anyway, we have a Substack. Please go sign up. It'll be fun times. friendspersecond.substack.com. We won't spam you or anything. It's literally just, hey, here's what we talked about in the episode. Here's stuff that we think you'll like. So please enjoy. And if you spot any spelling errors in it, don't tell me.
Can I do a guest column in it?
Yes!
Like kind of like a ask. What was the one in the papers? It was like ask so and so, like ask
it was
Janice.
Like Dear Abby.
Dear Abby. Yeah, I want to do something like that, and it's just like poorly written streams of consciousness by me.
I'm into it.
Thank you. Look forward to that. All right, so first topic, something we should talk about this week definitely are the big Xbox Game Pass changes. What do you say? What do you say, kiddos? Great enthusiasm. Well, there is a lot. There is some things to extrapolate from this, but I think first, let me just explain. Just bear with me. All of the changes for Xbox Game Pass. Okay. So I'm reading from Windows Central was the first place that broke this down. So Xbox Game Pass for console will be shuttered for new users only. Users currently on Xbox Game Pass for console will be allowed to maintain their subscription as well as day one games and then all the titles in the catalog. Now, new users on Xbox Game Pass in the near future will have to jump on this new Xbox Game Pass standard. So this has their Xbox back catalog, but doesn't include day one games, interestingly enough.
Okay.
So then from there, also there's like all like the stacking stuff. You can stack for 13 months. That stuff's boring. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate isn't changing, but the price is going up. In the US now, it is going to be $20 per month. PC Game Pass is also getting a price increase from $10 a month to $12 a month. And I think that's most of the interesting stuff. There's still like weird little changes with Xbox Game Pass Core, which is kind of just Xbox Live, and I forget about that with the price changing. But that's the main gist of it. So I think the big takeaway here is, I mean, the first thing, the headline is price is going up.
Well, actually, funnily enough, I don't really think that is the headline.
Is it?
I actually feel like,
would you say it's the devaluing of not devalue, but the fact that the deprioritization almost of title of day one stuff? Because if you have that subscription,
I wouldn't say it's deprioritization. I think it's them removing that as a core promise of Game Pass, right? That's a really hard thing to message, if that makes sense. Like, as in, you know, we think Game Pass, it's always been like day and date releases. It's like, oh, sick, Game Pass
hammered
rules.
that home hard. Yeah,
that's it. That's what. And obviously, it's like it's a big back catalog for sure. But I think what really made it interesting to talk about is that day and date stuff, right? Because there are a million of these subscription services, right? Like there's the Ubisoft one, there's the EA one. I think Humble does some kind of subscription service, if I'm not mistaken. You know, who else has one? There's Amazon Luna.
PlayStation.
Did you say Ubisoft? Ubisoft has one.
I said Ubisoft, yeah.
PlayStation.
PlayStation obviously have one for sure.
I have one.
Nintendo have their own version but it's like totally different. It's, you know, just like old retro games or whatever. So the point is that like these old back catalog subscription services are dime a dozen, not quite, but you know what I mean. But the thing about Game Pass is like, damn man, you can play the big stuff on day one for fucking $10. You know, that's crazy. That's a crazy deal. And now it's not that unless you pay more for it, like, I don't know, significantly more, depending on how you want to slice it and whatever else. And that is just a big thing. That's a big shift, you know. Like, I think that in terms of how Microsoft present and market that product and talk about it, I think that's a big change. I personally, though, I'm not super surprised by it because I've always felt like Game Pass was like a bit too good of a deal, if that makes sense. Like, I've always just felt in my gut that I'm like, I don't know about this, man. I think there is a concept of undercharging for stuff, right? And if you could get Starfield and play through Starfield after only having spent like $10 on a 1 month membership of Game Pass.
Well, I mean, even less, because didn't they have that deal where you would pay $1 for a month?
All that.
And so you could even, like, if you could really game the system.
And I just don't think that's very good. And I mean, you could say the same thing of movies and music. And I in my own show, I talked about the news world as well, right? Where, you know, like how much do we value movies and music these days? Like, how often will we buy an album or a movie? Now, I personally still buy like movies because I buy like 4K, you know, Ultra HDs, whatever. I love that shit. I really value it. I'm happy to spend that money. But most people aren't. Most people now think, well, if I have to pay for a movie, why would I pay $30 for one movie when I can just, you know, wait for it to come to streaming or whatever? And again, that's a whole conversation about like the death of cinemas and what have you, right? I think that the price you put on something obviously massively informs how much consumers value it. And if you're putting a $10 price tag on Starfield, then that's going to shift these. Now, obviously, Starfield, maybe not the greatest example, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like,
various games.
That's a game, massive ass game that cost hundreds of millions of dollars to develop and 6 years of work and whatever else, and then you get to play it for $10. You know what I mean? So I can understand why the price of this stuff has gone up personally. But yeah, I don't know how you guys feel about all this.
I mean, I said this, we filmed Spot On this week, and I said basically, you know, you can't borrow $69 billion from dad and not be expected to pay to mow a few lawns. And like, that's how I'm seeing it. It's like, it was a hefty investment to buy Activision Blizzard just a couple years after a much smaller, but still, talking a couple bill. Was it billions for Bethesda, for ZeniMax? It was like 6?
It was 8 billion.
8? And then how much was it for Minecraft? Like,
oh, I actually don't remember.
Minecraft
No
was...
idea.
Wasn't
I feel like it was only $1 billion for Minecraft, but that doesn't feel right.
Yeah, but because wasn't it like George Lucas got less for Star Wars than Mojang did for Minecraft?
Oh, okay.
It was something.
Lucas got $4 billion.
Yeah.
Lucas got $4 billion for Star Wars. Remember that?
Yeah. It was something weird like that. And so yeah, they line must go up. Obviously, that's part of it. But in terms of Game Pass is the best deal for consumers. The ones who are just like, oh, I'm just gonna dip in and like if I'm paying formally $16 a month, then I can get all of these mini games. But that is under the assumption that you play and really take advantage of that subscription. Now, with the price hike, people are definitely going to be like, well, am I actually getting the most out of it? And I've seen a lot of people being like, well, what if I just cancel and I just buy those games day one now?
Yeah, because I think, what is it, $20? What is it? What's the price now for a or like a Game Pass Ultimate subscription?
$20.
For $20
as of
right.
September 12th-ish.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Okay, so we're basically talking the price of 3 full-price AAA games for a yearly subscription. Roughly, ballpark, right?
Yeah.
So at that point, there are a lot of consumers who only buy a couple of games a year, right? Who only buy 2 to 3 games a year, because gaming is just a really very small part of their life. None of the people that watch this podcast fall into that category, by the way, right?
We know you've all got a problem. We all have a problem.
out.
Correct.
Yeah.
We're all shout out. Exactly right. But a lot of people fall into the category, and a lot of them are going to be like, nah, that's just not worth it at this point anymore. You know what I mean? And they're just going to buy their stuff. But even then, like line ball calls, let's say there's a person who buys like 5 to 6 games a year, and they buy them physical. So maybe they think about like reselling them, and they'll like trading them in or whatever else, I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely a far less compelling value proposition if you look at the raw dollars and cents. But at the same time, you are getting a pretty expansive back catalog, and you're about to get it to the point where like some big Xbox stuff is coming. And the timing of this is like spot on, right?
Yeah.
Because we've been waiting for these big Xbox games for a while now, and they haven't come, but they're coming now because we've obviously got Avowed, we've got Indie, we've got the big one, Call of Duty, and then next year we've got,
South of Midnight, Fable,
we've got
Maybe
next year.
State of Decay.
Maybe for all these games, right? You just don't know because they never really announced any dates for anything in that showcase, right? But it's well timed, and this is finally the moment where Xbox is going to have some really big day ones, and Stalker 2 actually.
Oh yeah.
And at that point they put the price up, so yeah, it's interesting timing.
Yeah, and it feels like if you think back to when Xbox bought all of those studios. Was it like, 2019? And they were like, yeah, we bought 10, and the roster's gone up to 20 something first-party studios, and then really, we still haven't necessarily seen the payoff from those purchases at all.
Absolutely not.
And it's just kind of been this promise. I remember it was 2021, was it? Where they were like, oh, and here's something big coming to Game Pass every month. And it was the year of 12 minutes. I remember that. Because I remember being super stoked about 12 minutes.
Yes.
What a game. And so, yeah, it kind of feels like, this part of this year for Xbox has been so weird messaging wise. Like, they've had layoffs, they've had studio closures, they've had, things like Hellblade that haven't hit. And now we're coming off the back of that really, really good Summer Game Fest presentation. Games that a lot of people are excited about, Gears, and everything. And so, yeah, and like COD going on Game Pass, I feel like this was inevitable.
Yeah.
And I think if they were going to do it, it would be now. It feels like maybe, hopefully this is the last of like the kind of shitty news coming out of Xbox, but.
I think that's interesting. Like, I don't know, like, is it shitty news? Like, question. Like,
well, shitty news for like everyday person who's like, oh, I'm paying more for something like that.
Sure,
is
sure.
something that you have to tell a consumer, get their buy-in, but hopefully the buy-in is now much easier for them because people are genuinely excited about things that they have on the horizon. And like we're going into Gamescom, and Xbox is already like sowing those seeds, kind of saying this is going to be the biggest presence we've ever had at Gamescom. We're going to have so many games. It's going to be so exciting. Blah 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 blah. So,
yeah, I think the thing is, you can look at some things, you're like, man, this fucking sucks. This is such a raw, like this is garbage, whatever else, you know. Like for example, Apex Legends this week, like EA, they just pulled some real bullshit with their like season pass, and they basically like effectively doubled the price of it on the spot, and they removed the ability for you to earn the season pass for free. They're really dickish move. They just sucked, and no matter which way you slice that, you're like, that's garbage. This, I think, is far more nuanced, I think, because the whole streaming or subscription-based economy has felt weirdly unsustainable, right? Or if it is sustainable, it maybe, I think, had the byproduct of devaluing video games in a way that is uncomfortable, in a way that we saw play out with movies and music, and had to make a decision about whether or not that same thing would happen here. For some reason, games seem to be more resilient than movies and music have been in the past. Like when streaming services came online, it was immediately everyone piled into that. That was it. It was over straight away, you know? Whereas here with video games, people still want to buy their games. They really do. That still exists.
It's weird because like it feels like in video games there was definitely the growth of streaming services like Game Pass and everything, but there was also this kind of great moment where companies like Limited Run were coming up and like making sure that there were physical copies, and like merch has been getting better, and you've got companies like Tune and Fairweather who do those incredible books, and they've been doing the Dark Souls ones, and they've just done Elden Ring, and then there's like Lost in Cult, so there's like these other markets coming up to make sure that they are some kind of physical element of gaming. And then there's people, you know, like the Video Game History Foundation and other people who are working to preserve stuff. And so it kind of feels like, I don't know, gaming's not going down without a fight. Hopefully.
It's definitely encouraged by how much people want to continue purchasing the games. Again, but if there is a section of consumers who only just are very happy with the subscription services, like one of my brothers, for example, fits into that category. He's a happy Game Pass subscriber, just dips in, dips out, whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I think with this news, I don't necessarily feel like it's Microsoft bad. You know what I mean? I don't feel that, because I just feel like it almost feels $20 a month to be able to play a massive back catalog of games, including PC and console,
and stream.
Plus, you get access to xCloud as well, which is big, and you get those day and date releases. We'll see what the cadence is like for that. I don't look at that deal and think, well, Microsoft's really nickel and diming us for that one. I think, okay, that probably feels like about the right price point. Whereas if I look at $10 a month, I'm like, oh man, I don't know, that doesn't sound quite right, does it? Like that's kind of where I'm at with this and how I feel about this news.
Do you feel like it's more like foot in the door kind of thing? Well, like that, as in foot in the door, you know, you kind of the lower ask to kind of prove that you're a good service, and then when you do eventually ask for something more, because your foot's already in the door, you will get more people likely to say yes. Also, the adoption rate for people with an Xbox console and Game Pass is very, very high. I think I saw something nuts like 75%.
Sure.
Like, would have to double check that. I think it was, saw it on like gamesindustry.biz or something, but like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're buying that machine for its exclusives ultimately, which is weird to say, but like, ultimately, you would like if you were like a primary Xbox gamer, that was your thing. It would make too much sense it would be crazy almost not to have Game Pass, you know, because if you can get all of Microsoft's first party output and you own their machine, like it would, that makes sense. So, I don't know, Jake, what do you think about all this?
I'm definitely just numb to prices going up for everything.
Right,
I mean, my Spotify went up, my Hulu goes up, and so it's like, oh, another one. Now it's gaming. Cool, dude. But I'm wondering, kind of like you guys were talking about the difference with gaming with this whole thing, the resilience is like, you know, when a price goes up, and Lucy, you guys kind of talked about this on your show. When a subscription price goes up, you kind of evaluate like, oh, is that too much? Do I really still need this? The difference I think with this is that like, okay, like if somebody evaluates and goes, yeah, Game Pass is a little too expensive for me now, I'm not using it enough, I still feel like they'll end up playing those games, or they're still in that ecosystem because they bought an Xbox. It's different than if Netflix's price goes up and you bail and you miss their big new documentary because you didn't even know, you don't even care. So the gaming aspect of it is weird. I think. Yeah, I think it's just like it is what it is. It's gonna happen, and people are gonna like, everybody economically is different. Everybody's wallet is different.
Where's my Game Pass with ads? Because that's what
Oh,
I've got
no,
on.
don't
That's what I've
say
got.
that.
That's what I've got on Netflix.
Don't
and I
give
think
them
my Hulu
any
too.
ideas. Jesus.
Well, I think, but that is I think an important point with all this, because there are now 4 tiers that they're operating at Game Pass. That gives them a lot of flex to be able to fuck with shit. So right now, I feel like it's at equilibrium where I'm like, okay, you want to pay $10, you get the basic offering, you get a small back catalog of games, you don't get the day one stuff. Okay, that feels about right. You got the PC Game Pass tier, by the way, is very good value. That's like $12 a month, and you still get all the day one releases and the back catalog stuff on PC. That is a banging deal at this point. And if you've got a PC, you are doing well, right? On the console side, though, it's like $20 a month and whatever else. Plus, there's also like the very basic offering for just gives you basically Xbox Live. Okay, so there's the 4 tiers. You can really fuck with that after this point, right? You can really add some bullshit in at the lower tiers to like make it even more painful. You could definitely increase the price of the higher tier, because they're like, hey, you're getting so much, aren't you? Like, they're listening to me talk and they're like, well, these people think they're getting a good deal, therefore we can charge more. You know what I mean? So I expect it will get worse, and that's how it goes with all these things, unfortunately. But right now, I feel like it does feel like a general equilibrium where I look at these price points in these offerings and I'm like, that feels generally fair. But I don't know, everyone's going to have their own view on what that is, But it's not going to stay fair forever, for sure. In fact, I give it like 12 months tops before they start pulling some bullshit and you start seeing like, the lower tier get ads or whatever. 100%.
Oh, it sucks that you can't stack. Because like so many people.
Well, that's why they did it though. They knew, because they're like, okay, this feels pretty good. That's why they did that thing where you can't stack it past 13 months now. They know.
I was the king of stacking. I was like the Double Fine game. Stacking. That was me. That's how I do all this shit, man. But alas.
Yeah.
Any last words?
No.
Yeah.
Enjoy your gaming wherever it may take place.
Enjoy your gaming. Pay up.
Yeah.
Well, next up, let's jump to a user question. Of course, you can send us questions at contact@friendspersecond.com. We appreciate your questions very much. This one comes from Harvey Monroe. I'm going to read this. He says, I've been an OG listener from episode 1 when it was shadow dropped on my YouTube during a surprisingly pleasant summer's day in Northern England.
Why do you think I picked this question? I was like, Northern England mentioned.
I see the bias. Yeah. So Harvey's question is, what do you think is the modern day equivalent of going to Blockbuster on a Friday night? Some of my fondest memories as a kid were asking my mom, to let my best friend sleep over on the weekend. We would go to Blockbuster after school to rent games and movies and loads of snacks. It was through Blockbuster that I discovered Mortal Kombat and managed to convince my mom that it was a chill game.
Dude, that is some sick hustle. Respect, dude. Man, you really knew how to play it. Well done.
Yeah. The modern day equivalent of going to Blockbuster on a Friday night. My version of that is way more depressing, dude. Cracking a beer, hanging out, and scrolling and downloading games that I'm never gonna play. Thanks to Game Pass, thanks to things like Game Pass and Steam Summer Sale. The amount of things I go, oh yeah, oh nice, gonna download that, and then when it's done downloading, maybe I'm gonna play it, and I never do. That's my version of a Blockbuster on a Friday night.
Man, Blockbuster on Friday night was we had like Civic Video in Sydney, or like that was like the Australian version. We had some Blockbusters, but it was like mainly Civic Video and. Man, that was the best times ever. Just going there and always like hoping that the thing that you wanted was actually in stock. That was the hard part, because a lot of the time they just have that blank box and then there's nothing behind it. And you're like, fuck, it's out,
I have a confession to make. I've got another confession. I would rent games from Blockbuster and I'm really...
Here we go.
Oh,
this is gonna be sick. I can see.
I'm so sorry.
I can see the shame in his eyes already.
Yeah. They would come with instruction manuals, and I would take them.
What? You would steal instruction manuals?
I would take them. I had a stockpile of instruction manual because back when instruction manuals for games were awesome, because they would throw them in the box, like in the rental box, and I would take them because they didn't count. Like they didn't count that. So I would get a game like first, like, oh, a game just released. I got to Blockbuster. I was able to rent it right away, and it had an instruction manual in it. So I took it.
That's
and I kept
prime
it.
evil shit, man.
Is...
That is properly, you are spending serious hours in purgatory for that.
Yeah,
100%. You're not going to hell, but you were in the waiting room for a long time after that.
What did you do?
100%.
Do you still have them? What happened to them? Did you anonymously like drop them on the Blockbuster front step one day?
Like Toy Story 3.
Please take care of these instruction manuals.
Oh man, I don't know where
you
they
were that
are,
guy
but
that
my
stole the
sins
fucking manuals.
are real. So
Damn, man.
Yeah, I
Well, that's
apologize.
serious business.
Were
Well,
you able to rent
should
consoles?
Mm-hmm. I didn't though.
Yeah, we could rent consoles
Yeah,
as
that
well,
was
but
nice.
we never had to do that because we always own the consoles. So that's that.
Well, okay.
Did you take the cables from the console as well,
Listen,
Jake?
no.
Is that what you did? Where's the RCA cable? Who was the last person to rent this out? It was that Baldino guy. There you go.
Oh my god.
So, no, unfortunately, getting back to the question, I do not believe that there is any modern equivalent to that.
No.
I mean, the thing is, at this point, though, I have a fairly expansive library of 4Ks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And actually, it is quite a thrill because I'm at the point now where I forget that I own stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, I don't remember that I own that movie. And so when I have like a free night, I will literally just go to that shelf and be like, what have I got? Oh, I bought that a while ago. Sick. You know, and then I can watch The Northman or some shit. You know what I mean?
Good film.
So that I like. I think as well, like I just have my mate over where he comes over every couple of weeks for just like a movie night where we just watch random shit. And we like specifically aim to watch garbage. We watched Madam Web, by the way.
Oh man.
We could talk about that in the show and tell block. But yeah, that is it. And unfortunately, there's just nothing quite like, because I don't believe that going through Netflix is the same or scrolling some website. It's not. There's nothing like that, unfortunately. And the only thing now that's close, I guess, is like the kind of the cinema where you get pulled. Like, I'm going to go see Deadpool at the cinema, like Deadpool, Wolverine, whatever. That's maybe the closest because you have to leave your house to go and watch a movie. You know, that's essentially it. But I don't know.
I think like now, I think the most I've had is like, yeah, like Friday, okay, like work's done and like I'm heading home and it's like I have like the PlayStation app and I make it download a new game on my PS5 so I know like when I get home it's there and that's all I'm doing tonight and I'm going to order Chinese food and it's going to be great. That's probably the closest thing. And again, nowhere near the equivalent of Blockbuster, but you got to take your little W's where you can, right?
Yeah, the only thing I can think of that gave me the same kind of feeling as a Friday night Blockbuster trip was just shortly after Tears of the Kingdom came out, me and Andrew went to Tam's house and all three of us had our Switches. Tam was playing on the TV, Andrew and I on our handheld. We ordered Mexican food, we had loads of snacks. We had like Andrew and I had beers and we had like soft drinks and stuff and just spent like a day doing that.
I love
that sounds like a sick day.
That was really great.
That was a good day.
The last time I felt alive was the launch of the Switch. Sorry, I should probably that
Oh
didn't
my
sound
God.
right. No, the last like really, really genuinely exciting like midnight launch. Like what is it? What is this thing? This is so exciting. For me was the Switch. And so for you to have like that day where you like binge the game all together, that's so cool. I love that.
I mean, the only other time for me was when PS5 came out and Greg and I got ours at the same time and we both were setting it up in the different rooms and like going, oh, did you get this? Did you have this? Like that was nice.
I wonder what that next console generation will feel like as well. This is getting off topic, but I can't imagine I'm going to be as excited for PS6 and the next Xbox at this point. I just can't imagine I'm going to be as pumped. Just unless they're doing something really weird and gimmicky and fun.
Yeah, that's what I want.
And I wonder
something silly.
If they start getting weird with controllers or whatever, I'm like, all right. But otherwise, even then, it's like I can't see that being sustainable because like other game developers will need to get on board with that idea. And I don't know, man. But yeah, I don't know. At this point, I'm so juiced into PC. They all feel the same anyway. At this point, yeah, a Switch 2 I expect will just be like a more powerful Switch. I don't expect any kind of like crazy ass gimmick on that one either. So yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Good question though.
yeah, Harvey, thanks for your
Blockbuster.
question.
What if we just started like a store that just sold like physical media? Because everyone else is closing up now, right?
Yeah,
no
yeah.
one's
There's a
selling
gap in
physical
the
media. We just
market.
had like a store, and you could rent that physical media as well. Do you reckon this store would do numbers? Do you reckon it's possible?
Where would we do it? East Coast, West Coast, Australia.
Okay, so
on a bustling street, like a main street.
Mm-hmm.
it'd have to be kind of like a bit of a, what do you call it? Like a place with a bit of an, like a, in Sydney we have places like the Inner West, which is kind of, how would you describe it?
Hipster.
Cafe culture,
Like foot
sort
traffic.
of semi-gentrified, but not too gentrified.
Okay.
Like young people and like people, young families or whatever. People who go to live music, that sort of shit. You know what I mean? People who are willing to try different things and that actually care about retro stuff. Not the deep suburbs and not like the CBD or whatever, like the downtown or whatever. Like something like that. Do you know what I mean?
So what I'm hearing is like Portland, Oregon.
I feel like I know enough about Portland, Oregon to say like, yes, that's the vibe.
Yeah.
Yes. So I reckon it could work.
I'm down.
What are we
What would
selling?
you call
Alright, cool.
it? Friends per second?
We're
Like-
selling stuff. No, we're just selling physical media,
Yeah.
okay? Games, movies,
CDs.
TV shows,
Mhm.
and you can rent or buy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah, so people can still come to the store and like rent a thing.
Yeah.
And I reckon that's what's going to be the main draw card because they're just going to want to come in and talk a bit. Like they're going to
Yeah.
want to talk to the person behind the counter about like what's up, you know?
So
It's going to be like High Fidelity or whatever.
I've noticed. Oh my god, yeah, that movie. Yeah. I've noticed that some like so I go to a lot of like mom and pop game stores. We have a lot around here, which is nice. And I've
Surprising.
noticed some of them pivoting to also selling DVDs, VHSs,
Sure.
and stuff like that. And it's actually been fun to peruse like the VHS aisle. I have on
Absolutely.
the shelf behind me. Like people can't usually. I have the original 3 Star Wars VHSs, the first VHS
Nice.
releases. And I got
That's
them for like
cool.
nothing, and it's awesome. And I love them. I
Yeah.
look at them. I don't have
Yeah.
a VCR anymore, but you know, hey.
The only
no one does.
The only VHS copy I have is What Women Want, starring
With
Wow.
Mel Gibson.
Joey. He used to work at GameSpot.
To be fair,
had,
that was
like,
a great
It was
movie.
like a movie.
had a bunch of them, and when he left, he gave me one. So I've got What Women Want just there.
That's a great
I have
movie.
like 4 copies of Speed on
Yeah.
on VHS. I have the
That's a good one.
Mask. I have the
Yeah.
Mummy, of course. I have the Mummy new in
course.
box in VHS. Powerful.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Very powerful.
Yeah, what were we talking about? Anyway, Harvey, thanks for your question.
Blockbuster. Thank you, Harvey.
Yeah,
Appreciate you,
check
buddy.
out in a few years, check out our newsletter to hear about our retail store.
So, question: do you guys feel like you are drinking too much coffee in your day?
Way too much.
Yeah.
Really?
I have
Oh,
I
yeah.
have a
And
hard
that's-
cutoff. Yeah.
And that's American coffee, by the way. So I feel really sorry for you. It's one thing to be drinking good coffee,
Yeah,
but to be
no.
drinking American
Whole
coffee
pot-
too much,
whole
that's
pot
just,
of hot
that's
brown
a
water.
whole pot
Yeah.
of that pain
my
every day.
God.
Man, well, I have a suggestion for you to stop doing that. It's called AG1, as you well know. AG1 has been sponsored this podcast for a while now. We're really appreciative of their support. And we've been drinking AG1 ourselves since they started setting it to us back, was a couple of months ago now.
A couple of years ago, we've been sponsored by AG1 for a while. We've been working
Actually,
with
this
them.
is probably over a year now at
Yeah.
least. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah, right. But yeah, really fantastic product. Basically, it's a supplement that's essentially just a really good way to start your day because it gives you a huge amount of, I guess, the nutrients that you would need throughout your day in one very convenient drink. Tastes really nice as well, which is great. Yeah, basically, just wake up in the morning. It's the first thing that you drink. At least at that point, you kind of know that you've done something good for your body, you know, like to start your day, which is a really nice way to kick things off. But apparently, and I didn't even know this,
Yeah.
but apparently this actually, they say here, as it turns out, 91% of people noticed they needed less coffee after 60 days of drinking AG1. I did not know that.
I didn't know that. And that's it.
Yeah, right? Go on.
I cap myself off. I only have 2 cups of coffee
Okay.
a day. I'm not fried from Futurama like Jake over here with 150.
Sure, that's a lot. I don't drink that much coffee, generally speaking, but I mean, like, yeah, if you find yourself drinking too much coffee and you're looking for an alternative, then AG1 could be it. They said
Specifically
97
because AG1's ingredients support sustained energy that help you be the best version of yourself every single day, which I like that. I think that's a little bit more appealing than a bunch of coffee.
Sure. Yeah, that's right. 97% of people felt more energy after just 30 days of AG1. And yeah, energy is crucial, especially for parents AG1's ingredients support sustained energy, helping you be the best version of yourself every single day. Wonder why they put in the for parents thing in there, but that's true, man.
It's
Like,
because
you
it's
need that energy if
the
you've got kids,
summer.
man. 100%.
But also easy morning routine because,
Yeah.
you know, as opposed to making a pot of coffee, it's a scoop in some water. You mix it around, you're good to go.
So if you'd like to check it out, you can try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/friends. That's drinkag1.com/friends. Check it out.
Next up, we're going to look forward to the rest of 2024 and talk about some of the things we're really looking forward to. It's an interesting year, right? Like, there's not a lot of like crazy big bangers in the holiday season, but there are definitely some things to talk about. So how we're doing this is we each narrowed it down to 3 games that we're looking forward to. So we'll kind of like bounce back and forth between the 3 of us.
I think we've done this before, haven't we?
Hmm?
We've done this kind of format before for something. Was it like best games of a year or?
I don't remember what I had.
I think
for
we've done
breakfast.
look back. I think we've done look back at what we've like enjoyed. We haven't done look forward. Yeah.
Look at us
All right.
always trying new things.
Yeah, look at us. All right. I think, Lucy, let's start with you.
Well, I'm picking this one. This you know what it is because I talk about this game. It feels like pretty much every episode, and it's coming up
go on.
so soon. It's coming up on Yorkshire Day, August the 1st.
Wait, there's a Yorkshire Day?
Allegedly.
Like the pudding?
No, like to celebrate the region.
Of course.
Of course.
Yes.
But also you can celebrate the pudding then, because Yorkshire pudding is incredible.
Hell yeah.
Which would be Thank Goodness You're Here, which is, I believe they're calling it a slap former, because it's like slapstick comedy, but also the only thing your character does, that weird little freak guy, is he jumps and he slaps people.
Love
Okay.
a slap.
So this is based on a TV show?
No?
This is just a thing.
This is the thing. You're some kind of like salesman or something, and you go to this northern town. I think it's called like Barnsworth or something. Again,
Right.
that's a very northern sounding name. It could be real. I don't think it is. And everyone in
Okay.
there is just weird. The thing is, is that I can't wait for you guys to play it. I've played the demo. There have been 2 different demos. I played it, and the thing I love is that it is so British in its humor, and
Sure.
British humor doesn't necessarily translate sometimes. Like,
But I mean, I feel like it does to Australians most of the time. 'Cause
Yeah.
there's definitely a difference, don't get me wrong, but we've grown up on so much British humor
Yeah.
that we understand it. With an American though, I reckon that's tough.
Yeah.
Hey, I
There's
know
a
who
reason
Steve
there's a
Coogan
reason
is.
there's a reason The Office had to be translated into American for it to
yeah,
work.
and the reason like the It crowd didn't work, and like, so the thing about it is that there are so many jokes in there. Like, even looking at their social media, they're making TikToks, and it's this one guy where it's like banned from the train museum because he's a bit weird, or like there's one where it's like they just call someone a nonce. A nonce is a
Nice.
word that we use in the UK that I don't think I've had to explain to multiple Americans what a nonce is.
Sure.
So that it's that kind of like very, very British humor. And I know I just keep saying it as British humor, but genuinely that's the only way I can think of to describe it, as someone who grew up with so many different flavors of it. The thing is, it's just like, it's very funny and surreal, and I'm genuinely just very excited because I feel like also pandering to me as someone who grew up in the north of England.
And you're like progressing through like a little story, right? Like it's an adventure.
Yeah, I can't even remember what it is. You know, hang on, I'll look it up. I've got my Steam open right now. Let's look at the wish
Because
list.
like the art style and everything has me in the door.
Yeah, it's just that freak.
So this just got on your radar because it's British, right? That's the thing.
Okay, so you are a traveling salesman. It is Barnsworth. As a traveling salesman, take the time to see the sights and meet the locals who give you a series of increasingly odd jobs.
Okay.
I saw it.
Okay.
I saw it because it was at the Panic booth at PAX last year. And so that's when I played it for the first time, and I had no idea what it was. And then I immediately was like, oh my God. So I told Kurt in Davina at work about it because he really loves British shows, and he immediately fell in love with it as well. And so it's just, oh yeah, so there's a salesman, he has a big meeting, that's it. but it's like you meet all these weird little people, and all like one of the first people you meet has his hand stuck down a drain, and you have to basically lube him up and get him out. Like that's the kind of weird stuff we talk about. Like
Good game.
So I'm very excited about that one.
Thank goodness you're here.
Thank goodness you're here.
I would say people should look up the trailer. The trailer is really hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, I think humor is just something that is very, very difficult to get right in a video game.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Either you can go full Borderlands with it, or you can go
like West of Loathing, something like that.
Or like even a game like where it's what you do, and gameplay wise funny things will happen. Like I've had some of the funniest gaming experiences just a pure coincidence of things that have happened in Overwatch or Far Cry or AI bugging out or something. Helldivers, right?
Yeah.
And so it's difficult to get right, and I really hope this one sticks the landing. It'll be a good moment for Great Britain.
Speaking of sticking the landing,
you guys are having a few of those lately.
Yeah. Are we?
Yeah. Yeah. Are we?
No. It was better.
No politics on this. No politics on this one.
Politics. God, no.
That's all right. This is the escape zone.
I'll go with a weird one
zone.
too.
Yeah.
Kingmakers. Kingmakers is coming, I believe, to early access this year, 2024, on PC. This is the one that went viral because it's like a medieval, like big night battle simulator game, and then you're just a guy with a gun.
Yes.
Yeah. This seems like a lot of fun. It actually seems like it does have some good strategic elements, like you're plotting trebuchets and like, you know, unit formations and stuff like that, and then the battle will play out in real time, and then you're just like an idiot with like a car and a gun
hanging out.
Yeah,
Yes.
just hanging around. So that to me just seems really fun. I lately have been looking for more passive good times rather than something like so deep and like, you know, really like dive into, and this just seems like that perfect blend of like absurdity and like some compelling gameplay concepts. I really hope they nail it, like, because when it was first announced I was like so in the door. So
Sure.
yeah,
That trailer
That was a good
so
trailer,
good.
man. That was like because I watched the first like 15 seconds of it, I'm like, nah, it's another one of these ones.
Yeah, and then
these
suddenly
boring medieval whatever. Fucking, there's a million of these, and then there's like all that happens. I'm like, whoa, okay, all right. I'm glad I stuck around to the 23-second mark. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, fingers crossed on that one. Ralph, you go next.
Yeah, so I think the next one coming out for me is Space Marine 2. Which is pretty soon, actually. I think it's like at the back end of September,
Yes.
Like that kind of thing. Yeah. And I managed to play a preview build of this a while ago. It was quite some time now, actually. I feel like, was that last year? Pretty sure it was last year I played that, actually. Yeah, Space Marine 2. And just felt fantastic. I'm only a casual Warhammer enjoyer. I'm not like fully juiced in, but I always enjoy what I experience, be it books or games, whatever. And this just felt like it was totally dripping with lore, and visually it was incredible. It was the same engine as World War Z, you know, like that zombie game that had just like
It was a good one.
all of the zombies,
Yeah.
right? And so they apply that same engine to this, where it's just like all of the Tyranids, like just little bug kind of things. Like think, what do you call it? Sergeant Troopers or Helldivers, but you know what. And the scale of it was crazy. Just some of the stuff that was happening was insane. The action felt super good. Everything about it just really popped off and felt fantastic. So that was a while ago that I played that. It's been in development for quite some time since then, and it's launching soon. But I guess one worrying thing is they just canceled the beta for that. Like they were going to have a beta for the multiplayer stuff.
Yeah.
And they just canceled it, and they're like, oh, we're canceling it, and we're not going to reschedule it. We're just going to release the game. We're focused on releasing the game, so we're going to cancel the beta. And I'm like, that sounds concerning, doesn't it? So look, I expect there'll probably be at least a few problems with multiplayer stuff. Hopefully they're not too bad. Hopefully they get fixed soon after launch. I don't know. But personally, I'm not really interested in the multiplayer stuff anyway. I'm just really keen for the single player experience of, like, you know, being an ultramarine and doing that shit. Played Bolt Gun a little while ago. Did you guys play that
Oh,
one?
I love
I
Bolt Gun.
played a little bit of it, but
Yeah.
it did
It's
make
so
me
good.
really motion sick, unfortunately.
The motion sickness, of course. Yeah, totally. Well, hopefully this will be better for you because it's third person and whatever. But yeah, I mean, it looks fantastic, and really excited for that one, actually. Yeah,
I agree.
That's
Especially as
Should be a
I
good time,
only
respect.
I played Bolt Gun. Like I just like the games. Like I played the
Yeah.
first Space Marine game. I was like, this is cool as hell. So yeah, same thing for this one. They did say that the campaign is like 12 hours.
Which feels kind of right.
I
And then
remember the
quickly
first
played
one
again
not
on-
being super long.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's fine, and you can play it again on higher difficulties and play it co-op with some
There's
friends.
modes,
And
yeah.
like there's probably like I think there is a horde mode confirmed, and there's also a PvP mode. So like all of that in one package, I'm happy with that. You know, people are gonna have their own price point for it,
Yeah.
but for me, that sounds good. So yeah, I'm keen, man. It's what's the date exactly? It's 9th of September. God, that's even sooner than I thought. Yeah, cool. No.
Lucy, hit us.
So yeah.
Is it me? Okay, I talked about this one very recently as well because I played the demo of the Altars. So
Yes.
putting
This
that
is like
out
the
there.
guy simulator, right? Or like a guy
You're
who can
so
be
many.
another
You're
guy.
so
Simulator.
many of the guy.
Yeah.
Where basically it is sliding doors meets a base building sci-fi game where you get dumped on a planet. Very into it. I really enjoyed the demo. But because we were planning this, I was going through my Steam wish list. Demonology, spelled with the A though, so my brain wants to say demonology. But it's a narrative game where you play a witch hunter, and there's this village with a witch, and you have to interview all the people in the village and basically determine who the witch is, and then by the end of the week or something, you have to make the decision and hang the witch.
That's cool.
It just is a really cool premise that I'm very into.
It's so funny because like that era is really known for just like indiscriminately hanging women,
Yeah.
like burning women.
Not
You know what I
good.
mean?
Yeah.
They're like, let's make a game of that. You know?
I
Okay.
wonder.
And what happens if you get it
I
wrong?
know.
You're like,
well, that's the thing though, because like it said when I was on the Steam page, it was like similar to games that you enjoyed, and that's one of them was Pentiment, and the first act of Pentiment is you going in and figuring out who
Yeah, the murder
this
mystery.
murderer is, and whoever it is gets whoever you choose
yeah.
gets put to death, I believe, or imprisoned. So I don't know. I'm very interested in it. Did you read Between Two Fires? Which
No.
is basically the closest thing other than Berserk to
Really?
a Dark Souls-ish. Like it's very, very similar, and it very quickly just goes from being, hey, everything is really sad and depressing, to, oh my god, these horrendous monsters are gonna kill us all, and there's a church involved, and everything is horrible. It's like this really dark fantasy that I really enjoyed.
Dope.
So I'm kind of like, when you mentioned the Northman earlier, I was like, yeah, I want to rewatch the Vivitch, and
Banger.
get into all that kind of dark stuff, because
Sure.
the world is too fun at the moment. I need to retreat into dark fantasy and dark fiction, and that's what I will be
Yeah.
doing with Demonology.
I really am feeling that so much because I did like another half playthrough of Elden Ring when I was doing Erdtree, and I was just like, man, it just feels so good to sink into that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like that lonely, sad,
Mm-hmm.
broken world, and you're just like, it's just you. There's no one else. It's just you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, man. There's something so comforting about that in a weird, fucked up way. Like it's just playing all these like zany looter shooters and this and that and live services and what. It's just like, man, you just sitting there, a guy with a sword walking through a big city where everyone else is dead. Like
Yeah.
that feels really good. I don't know why that feels good, but it really does.
Yeah.
And as I've been working and playing other stuff, like I'm really enjoying Destiny. I'm loving it at this point, actually. But at the same time, I'm so often finding myself just wishing that I could go back and play some more Elden Ring right now, because it just feels so zen to be playing that in that way, you know?
I agree.
Yeah, I love it.
My next one is kind of like the boring one, but it's Star Wars Outlaws. Specifically,
Yeah.
though, because
Oh.
I was really skeptical of it until I played it at Summer Game Fest. And I was like, oh, I think they might be onto something here. Cool. I also just really, really love Star Wars. All the bad shit, all the good shit. I'm in it. I'm just like, it's that red letter media meme. It's like, don't ask questions. Just, that's me. Although right now I'm a little jammed up about a certain show, but yeah, I think I am just looking forward to just a big, dumb AAA open world game that that like hits the things that I really want, because there have been a bunch lately, but in the past couple of years, but none that like I really, really wanted to like. Like Valhalla didn't totally do it for me. So this one just feels like I'm like, okay, I want to like hop on a speeder bike and like cruise around a world.
Yeah.
Also, just seeing the demo and seeing the pretty simple third person shooting, but just like adventuring and walking around towns and hopping in your ship and flying to a different planet. I'm like, okay, that feels like that's gonna hit for me. So I hope so. You know, we still haven't seen how the game totally plays out and like how it's structured. So, and I still have a lot of questions, but I don't know. I just want like a good Star Wars adventure. And I do feel like we've been eating good with Star Wars games.
Mm-hmm.
I've
Ooh,
been very
Jedi?
happy with the
Yeah.
output. So I'm
Totally.
hoping that this is like another just good old adventure. I mean, there are definitely things that we've
suspect-
talked about.
yeah.
Like we talked to them about like the pre-order bullshit or like whatever
Sure.
it was. But I just hope it's a good adventure and like some worlds I want to spend some time in, you know?
I suspect it will be. That's the vibe I get from it. Definitely having played that preview slice, small slice, but you know, it felt like the fundamentals were there enough. And the world building stuff was just really hitting and all of it. Like I had a really good time with that. And I could absolutely see myself spending 25 to 30 hours just romping through that. And not like, same with, like, I don't think it's going to be a game of the year contender, but I think it's going to be a nice Star Wars. It's going to be a nice Star War.
You know what
and
it's
I'm
going to
into
be?
that,
it's going to
you
be
know?
a fun romp.
There we go.
Thanks,
Put it on the
Luce.
back of the
Put
box.
that on the box.
I really, I think like, I don't know, the trailers, everything leading up to it, I was like, I don't know. And then like getting a glimpse of the game, I was like, oh, okay, like the main character might be interesting. The worlds might have a little bit of a nice open world, like simulated world feel to them. So I'm really curious to see the whole thing kind of unravel in
She's
the
got
final
my
game.
hair. You see that?
Yeah, that's right.
Does have your
Jordan
hair.
Midler tweeted because there was an event.
Oh yeah.
He tweeted out, "Congrats to Lucy on her new job as a mannequin." And I looked and I was like, I think
Nice.
I have like a denim jacket grey combo that I have worn in the past, where I have just looked like I've been Disney bounding as the character. So.
You are K
Vess.
Vess. Not my
K
favorite
Vess.
Star Wars name, but
I keep
Vess
wanting to
is a
call
pretty
it
good
It
last
Jin,
feels
name.
very
so-
Star Wars though.
Vess is
It
a
does
good
feel
last
pretty-
name. That's a good ass Star Wars last name.
It is. It is.
All right.
I tell you
Ralph,
what I
you're
played.
next.
I played Metaphor Refantatio
Yes.
at Summer Games Fest.
Mhm.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I'm a Persona fan in a sense, in the light sense, where I'm like, I've never finished a Persona game, but I always put like a certain number of hours into them before I put them down because they're really long, and I always have a great time. And I always look at the art, which is incredible, and the music, which goes so hard, and the UI, which is industry leading,
Yeah.
and you know like thematically, it's also they're quite deep and confronting, and they're willing
yeah.
to tackle serious issues and whatever. So I like everything, but again, I just don't see them through to conclusion because I always struggle to finish JRPGs. They're very long. But yeah, man, I played Metaphor Refantasio. The art design is out of this world. Like it's just, they hit a new level, which I couldn't believe. Combat felt super good. I mean, it's turn-based, but it feels so fast and snappy the way it plays out.
Oh.
Like the amount of downtime in animations and the menu, and like when you press to attack, you just immediately attack. Whereas in many like turn-based games, you press and then there's a slight pause and then there's a wind-up animation and then something happens. And you're like, come on, hurry it up. But it's so snappy. And the music is just wild. Like until you hear this music for yourself, I cannot describe it, but it's so distinctive and just so excellent. Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. Like it was the best thing that I played at Summer Games Fest for sure.
Wow.
Even
it
over
really
Astrobot?
was. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I loved
Yeah.
Astrobot, don't get me wrong, but as a package, everything that Metaphor was doing was just like, oh man, this is. I was so drawn into it, and I really want this to be like the Atlas game, the first Atlas game that I properly finish. It really just grabbed me in a way that, I enjoy the Persona games, but this just seemed to have a very different effect on me. It's so much more fucked up in terms of its visuals and setting, and I really liked that a lot.
It's funny because you said that just after you were saying how much you. Not to say that it's very similar to Elden Ring, but it is a very bleak world. That kind of
I think
thing
maybe
too.
that's it. That bleakness, where like the slice of life stuff in Persona, I didn't really love that stuff. It's okay, but like the coffee shop and the, I don't know,
School.
whatever. You put me in a dark fantasy world where everyone is dying, and I'm like, yeah, all right, now we're talking, So yeah, it's looking pretty sick. It's on October 11th as well, which
Oh,
again,
okay.
not
Coming
that
up.
far away.
Also, don't forget
so
that there was
very
a
excited for
character
that
in
one.
it called Hulkenberg. which made me just so happy when I saw that.
Wasn't that like a WrestleMania event?
That's Hulkamania. You get it right. That's a federal holiday here. Who's next?
Yeah.
Lucy, you're next?
Is it me?
I think so,
So again, another game that I've talked about because they dropped the demo. Jelly Bean, I swear to God, if you turn off this PC,
Jelly Bean is the cat.
Is
It's
my
gonna be
cat.
very funny.
Yeah, I was recording a podcast yesterday and she kept like jumping up as if, and like her paw was this close to the off button. So
You should put like a drink coaster over the off button.
I really should. I should,
Cat facts with Jake. Cat tips.
You can buy like a little plastic thing that like a little hinge, which I might do. Anyway, this game dropped a demo during the PC gaming show, I believe, at Summer Game Fest, and I was lucky enough to have access to it ahead of time. And that is the Rise of the Golden Idol, which is again fucked up. It's all about cults, but it is this kind of adventure game where you presented with a scene. It is the sequel to Case of the Golden Idol, which came out last year, where you're presented with a scene, and by looking at clues, you have to deduct what everyone's names are, who did something to what. So, for example, hi, Jelly. You have to deduct like who did something to what. So, if you have, two people, like one, I mean, the tutorial for the first game is like one person pushing another off a cliff, and by going through their stuff you figure out who is who, and it is this incredible game of deduction and logic, and that is just the way that my brain works, and the fact that it is all around this fucked up mystery, this weird family, and all of these people. I was so excited that it was not only getting a sequel, but that the sequel was coming out so soon, and it's really good. It's made some great quality of life adjustments. And there is also another game, I believe by PlayStack as well, or published by PlayStack, called Little Problems, where it's basically the same deduction mechanics, and like it gives you, and also this was the same in Duck Detective, where they give you like a statement with words missing, and then you have to deduce who's done it. And I just really love puzzles like that. And so 2024, I am eating so good with Duck Detective, Little Problems, and Rise of the Golden Idol. That's my spiel.
It is the year of the Lucy Ask.
Seriously,
the,
really
weird
is.
puzzlers.
The weird
Mystery
puzzlers.
girl.
You had Lorelai earlier this year as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nancy Drew over here.
I've never played a Nancy Drew. I really should. I feel like I would
The old
like them.
PC games were actually pretty. I used to play them in like the library. They were good. It just made sense. It felt like the right place.
It wasn't a big deal for us in the UK, I don't think.
What was the other one? Harriet the Spy? Harriet the Spy was cool. Was that was a
didn't
different
have
one.
that either.
Anyway, I guess I read a lot of girl books. Let's
I read,
anyway.
did you
We
guys
had
ever-
Famous
ever-
Five.
Do you guys ever play Eagle Eye Detective Agency?
That
No.
sounds
No,
familiar.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe I brought it up in the past, but it's like this. It's a detective game. It was sick. Anyway, shout out in the comments if you played this one. It was a classic. I loved it.
I was more of a backyard baseball kid. Those games were sick.
Sure.
Those games are awesome.
Yeah.
I'm up next with my final one. Well, I was gonna put Metal Gear Solid 3, the remake, because
Delta.
it's not dated, and a lot of people are speculating that it's gonna be 2024. I don't know for sure, but I would put that on my list just because now I'm kind of like, I've gotten off my Metal Gear high horse a little bit, and I'm just like, whatever. Let's see what they got. Let's see if they fucked it up or if it's cool, and maybe new people will join in and like love Metal Gear. So whatever, that's cool. But again, we don't know if that's coming this year yet.
I think there was a PlayStation blog post where they mentioned it would be
2024. Yeah,
but then things change.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my real one is my real pick is Frostpunk 2. I've kind of
Nice.
I know I've talked about this one a lot on the podcast. I like the original quite a bit. I love how challenging it makes decisions that in other games seem like not a big deal, or it's just like, oh, story ramification. Here they beat you over the head with like every single decision you make, and it really like is a very interesting almost meditation on like leadership, and how if you're in a leadership position, like you can do the right thing, but it's still like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't with every single thing. So the first game was brutally challenging and really interesting, and the second game looks like they're going even deeper in on like story elements and like individual characters, but also building out like a deeper city. So the first game was about building a city kind of like a Snowpiercer city, like in the world of Snowpiercer. So like the world is frozen over, you're building a city and trying to keep this city sustained, warm, and keep everybody alive. In the second game, it looks like it's still that setting, but now it's more of like a struggle of resources with like oil and stuff like that. So I'm curious to see how that's going to go over in gameplay, how that's going to translate to gameplay. There's the most recent trailer they put out was just like an awesome trailer. Like it just showcased how crazy these games get and how things escalate so quickly with the decisions where it's like, oh, okay, well, like we need to feed people. Okay, but then that means the kids have to work in the mines. And then it's like, okay, but then like, what if the kids stage a rebellion? What if you have to kill a kid? Like it just gets so crazy so quickly. So
Camp Krusty out here.
The new trailer like really sells like the intensity of that. So I'm glad that they're continuing with that. And I hope they nail it. It's out soon. It's a good studio. So yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I don't really play many strategy games, but I definitely have that on my schedule. It's on 20th September, and there's not much going on at that point, so I'm like, yeah, I'll check it out for sure.
Yeah,
I'm keen.
Kurt got me to download the first game because it's, I think, like $4 on Steam at the moment or something. So,
the final one for me is a guilty pleasure. Diablo 4, and I guess I should also put in Path of Exile 2 in this. I feel like in my brain they're the same. They're obviously not, but the chance to click around on demons and collect loot, I love that shit.
You play them both with the same group of friends?
Well, first of all, I've never actually played. I've only played like a few hours of PoE, right? And so I'm actually really excited for PoE 2 because of the fact that like I'm get to step into that properly. I played about 5 hours of it actually at Summer Games, and I actually interviewed the game's director, and so I'll talk about that more in the future. But long story short, I really loved what I played of it, and it was really hard, like in a way that I was never anticipating. Yes, it absolutely kicked my ass in a way that I never would have anticipated any RPG to do. Yeah. I'm not sure all of that was entirely intentional because I played with one class and it was so hard, dying all the time. And then I played a different class and I was like, this is easy mode. And I'm like, I feel like there's some balancing issues happening here, right? But the whole package was so unbelievably polished. Like, you just, man, it is wild how big and ambitious PoE 2 is. Like, I don't think the PoE community already know, but everybody else hasn't heard yet how massive this game is. You know, like Diablo 4, for example, has like 120 bosses, but only about like actually 30 or 40 real bosses. The rest of them are kind of repeats. And I interviewed the game director and he's like, yeah, we've got like 110 bosses. I'm like, oh, okay, so how many of those are repeated? He's like, none. And I'm like, okay. It's like, apparently it's like 6 acts long, and each act is like 10 to 20 hours a piece. I mean, Diablo's campaign was like, you know, a good 50 hours or so, but this is shaping up to be significantly more than that. It's wild. So it's a lot. So really excited for that. But at the same time, Diablo 4, Vessel of Hatred, I just love me some Diablo. I really do. And I was, you know, someone who actually, one of the few people who unironically enjoyed Diablo 4 at launch, despite its many shortcomings. They fixed a lot of those shortcomings since then. And so, you know, the loot game is significantly improved. And so now I'm looking forward to, they're just going to add a bunch of content to it, right? There's new stuff to do, a new class to play, all that sort of shit. And it's just going to be a good excuse to step back into that world and do it again. I don't plan to continue to play it as my forever game, but I do plan to play it for, you know, a month, 6 weeks, smash it super hard, see the new class, see the new content, experience all the new loot systems for myself, and have like a really good 6 weeks. Like, that'll be awesome. And then I expect that PoE 2 will actually be like later in the year, like November, December kind of feel like that's the vibe that they're putting out. And then so I'll be able to go from one to the next, and that'll be great, you know? So Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred, man. Don't hate me, but I'm keen for some hatred. Oh, shit, that was terrible.
Hey, you know what?
You knew because you did that. You given him the finger gun.
I did the finger gun.
You're recording in your morning, so you're
that's right.
Waking up.
It is 10:30 though, so I feel like that limit, that excuse has evaporated by now. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So 2024 looking all right. I still think there's more to be announced. I think the calendar will still fill out a little bit more.
Yeah, we got Gamescom. We got a bunch, and also like, you notice that we haven't really looked at things. We didn't mention things like Assassin's Creed and COD, because there are so many. Like, obviously those are going to be big games for the end of the year, but like, we're all excited about different things.
Is anyone really excited about Assassin's Creed Shadows? Is anyone like,
not after
fuck yeah, man, I can't wait?
No.
I mean, like, I think there's some people like, yeah, okay, sure, I'll play it because it's there. It's there. But is anyone like, man, I'm so pumped for that shit. Hook it to my veins. Like, come on.
I think some people are still some people wanted that setting so intensely
Sure.
that I think some people are still. But
I'm
guess,
incredibly
yes.
curious to play it after playing Ghost of Tsushima. you
oh
know?
boy,
Yeah. Look, from what I saw of that like closed theater demo thing, I don't see any part of it being more interesting or compelling than Ghost of Tsushima, especially on the combat front. Like, it just doesn't look anywhere near as good to play as on that combat side of things. Maybe they do some cool things with story. Maybe just the scale of it is interesting, you know, in the sense that there's so many different biomes to explore and things to do and whatever else. I don't know. But very tough act to follow for Ubisoft after Ghost of Tsushima.
I personally have always wanted to play an Assassin's Creed game where I'm a big, strong guy who can like break through walls.
Sure.
Definitely.
Okay. That sounds pretty on brand for the Assassin's Creed brand. Absolutely.
Let's do it.
So yeah.
All right. So 2024. We'll be talking more about 2024 in future episodes. So please be excited.
Please look forward to it.
But next up, I do want to jump over to another user question. This is from Matt Wood, who says, I generally find that Steam ratings are very useful and a huge pro-consumer tool to help potential customers know if a game is worth their time and money. However, it does seem recently that Steam reviews hold an unexpected amount of weight in the conversation around games. When developers or publishers make a crappy move on an otherwise good game, like Helldivers 2 requiring a PSN on PC, or Dragon's Dogma sneaking in microtransactions, Steam reviewers are quick to bomb the titles with negative reviews. It seems sometimes the bombing actually results in a positive change. Sometimes it appears there's a disconnect between a loud minority and overall reception of a game, like when Shadow of the Erdtree was bombed for its difficulty. So, my question is, do you think Steam reviews enable a sort of mob rule mentality that has the potential to cause more harm than good? If so, what are some ways that Steam or the game's community can alleviate the potential threat? It's a damn good question.
Yeah.
It's certainly something we see a lot. I think Steam, at the very least, I think it's good that Steam has two categories, like the recent and overall, because things change. And I think they had to have implemented that because of situations like this.
Yes, they did.
But I don't know. Do you guys think that they can do more?
Well, no, because I wanted to bring this up because I saw a tweet about this like not too long ago, from a couple days ago, and it was a game, Control Alt Ego. And they tweeted, because they were very, very positive. They were very positive, and they went to mixed, and they tweeted, making the slow motion transition from buried gem to barely known misunderstood masterpiece. And that went like a little viral, but it's like basically they were just saying that like they were getting. They like, for an indie dev, they were very, very anxious about, because it would be 1 or 2 reviews could change you. And like I remember when Another Crab's Treasure were doing it, and like they were trying to get that overwhelmingly positive, and it would be like, hey, 1 more review will do it, like 0.5 or something will do it. And it is wild how volatile it seems. But because of that tweet now, the opposite thing has happened, where they've gone back to very positive and mostly positive. And so it's.
But I feel like those are different issues than what the question is asking about.
Yeah, I was just bringing it up
because
in terms of like how
Sure.
volatile it is in both ways. And like, what if you're a game where you don't have that necessarily that social clout, and like this sinks your title? Like you get review bombed and it completely sinks you.
But like, what is an example of that though? You know, because I don't think that actually does happen. Or if it does, I can't think of an instance where some game has been unfairly review bombed to the point where the title became a commercial failure. Do you know what I mean? I think, and also I think the term review bombing is a very specific term, because if you don't like a game for legitimate reasons and you say as much, that's not review bombing. That's just you not liking a game, right? Whereas
when I hear review bombing, it's usually like culture war shit.
That's obviously very common on multiple platforms, particularly Metacritic. But I think review bombing, in the way I care about it personally, is when it relates to consumer. Mostly, it's consumer decisions or performance. They're the two most the things that I see most regularly, right? So, for example, with Helldivers, great game, then all of a sudden they add the PSN stuff and a whole bunch of people just can't play the game. And it's like, well, that sucks, right? And so that's an anti-consumer decision that Sony had to pay the price for. And that's what happened, right? Another reason why you see a lot of negative reviews is performance, where a game gets patched, something breaks really badly, and then the reviews just bomb, right? Again, is that review bombing at that point? Not really. That's just people being like, hey, this shit sucks, right? So, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think, you know, Apex Legends, for example, recently just has been review bombed as a result of what they've done with the season pass. Fair enough, I say, because they've really fucked people on that, you know? So I would actually say that most of the time when we talk about review, and this is the thing, I think review bombing gets a bum rap because a lot of people are like, oh, review bombing is terrible and whatever else. I'm like, is it though? Like, is it actually? Because I think it's one of the very few, the Steam review things, I will like die on that hill. I will protect it with my life. It is one of the few actually useful review tools that we have for consumers across the whole landscape, right? No other platform does it in quite the same way. It's brilliant because people actually get to say what they think. And they get to show it a thumbs up or down. And it also shows how many hours they put into the game when they write that review. So you can actually assess, is this person full of shit? Or like, you know, have they only played 1 hour and they're just doing this, right? So there's a lot of things that make it great.
It's a platform where their voices can actually, you know, be heard about performance issues or whatever.
Totally. And so I think that, yes, there are going to be times when it's misused for whatever reasons, culture war bullshit or whatever else. I don't know, whatever. Absolutely, of course. But I think on balance, most of the time when you see stuff going on with reviews, like review bombing or those really steep like decline in review scores, there's a reason for that. And it's probably consumers making their voice heard about something legitimate. And I would say that 95% of the time, that's what I see when we talk about this issue. So yeah, man, I would say I'm a fan of it. I support it. I really do.
Do you think, I mean, I think it just in terms of like, I've seen a lot of indie devs, you know, complain that it does impact them. Obviously it impacts, you know, a lot of things. Like I feel like when you've been that close to a game and then one person doesn't like it and sometimes they can get reviews where it's just like they're not vibing with how your game is and they review it negatively. I completely agree with like in terms of technical stuff and in terms of shitty microtransaction practices, it's very important. Do you think there's a better way of doing it? Because like, if you look at Elden Ring, maybe for example, where that got review bombed because of difficulty.
Well, pause, because that also, there was a lot of stuff going on there. In addition to that, there were a lot of performance issues that surfaced. A lot of those reviews were pointing out that. And also, it turns out that quite a few of those reviews were from Chinese players who had issues with the anti-cheat stuff going into there, and there was some kind of compatibility issue or some problems as a result of that, right?
So
in addition to that, there was also the difficulty. Yes.
So my kind of follow-up from that would be like, mixed reviews is such a wide net to cast. Is there a way that Steam could have like how Amazon reviews do it, where it's like they have the stars and whatever, but I mean, they pull out specifically, I know it's a use of AI and we can, I don't know, that minefield over there, but it's like they pull out like people complain about this, people think the build quality is good. Like, I wonder if there's a way within Steam to surface specifically why people are doing it, because for me, overwhelmingly positive, mixed reviews, like what does that say? Well, it's not giving me anything. And then, you know, and I'm just saying that as like a quality of life thing, because if you then do go into the reviews, it's basically the equivalent of skipping straight to the score rather than going through what people have actually said.
I will say, I as a consumer, like I could use a little more maybe categorization, because sometimes I'll look at a game and I'll see a lot of negative reviews just about it doesn't run on my machine, it's poorly optimized, there's issues, and like, you know, sometimes my machine ends up being all right, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I'm like, okay, yeah, but like that might get fixed, so like I want to like get quickly to someone who has played the game for 40 hours already, and what do they like about it. So yeah, a little more categorization, but that's again getting off the topic. I think I do think we nailed that question.
No, but I actually don't think that is quite off topic, because I actually agree in the sense that if there was some categorization that allowed you to pull out PC performance as one example, that already is going to massively influence how that overall rating might appear. Because if you can isolate that, like if there was a pivot that just shows negative reviews based on PC performance, that might go from mixed to very positive because, you know, people are going to be like, hey, I love this game, but it runs like shit. You know what I mean? So I actually do think that's a good solution. I don't know. I'm sure it'd be very difficult for Valve to implement something like that.
Yeah.
UI, UX challenges, what have you. But yeah, I do think that is an interesting idea. Absolutely.
Yeah, because like even just looking at, I'm on the Steam review page for Dragon Age Inquisition right now, and it's like, you can change by review type, positive, negative, purchase type, language, date range, playtime. So I could say if I only want to hear from people with over 100 hours in it.
Yeah. But that's obviously, there's a lot of confirmation bias at that point when you start going that pivot.
But the only way that they display is summary, most helpful, recent, and funny. So you know that someone at Steam is like, all right, we'll go for the bands. We'll go for the bands. It's fine.
The funny ones are good, man. I respect
ones.
that pivot. I absolutely do. Love it.
So
We got to get Gabe on the pod.
Oh, one day, man.
one
I reckon
day.
he'd be up for it as well. He's a pretty chill dude. He's a pretty chill guy. I reckon he'd be okay with it. We'll
Get
do
him
it
in.
one day.
Mark our words.
Yep.
Hey, have you guys ever thought about getting top-notch quality audio, but you're concerned about spending a ton of money? Thankfully, you can get today's sponsor, Raycon, at about half the price. But it's good quality audio, and you've probably all heard about Raycon at this point, but you may not have heard that they've redesigned the everyday earbuds. So they're much cooler now.
Yeah, actually, I was using the old version of Raycons for literally years. And then they sent me the new ones. Didn't even tell me that they were coming, by the way. I just kind of got them in the mail. Yeah, and then I was like, because they've sent me other pairs of Raycons over the years, like the same ones. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I got this new one. I'm like, hang on, this is different. And then I started looking into it. And yeah, there's actually quite a bit that's different to it. Like, for example, it has up to 32 hours of battery life now, and when combined with the case. The case is now quick charging, and it'll give you like 90 minutes of playback time after just 10 minutes of charge. But the biggest thing that they added to it is active noise cancelling, which the previous versions didn't have. They just had like a very snug fit that blocked out a lot of noise. But this is proper ANC now, meaning that it's even quieter, and it's, you know, it sounds fantastic. They still stay in my ears, which is like, they're like the only earbuds that do that.
Yeah, same.
Anything that has that little stick that sticks out, like the other ones, you know the ones I'm talking about, they don't stay in my ears. So yeah, I've been really, really satisfied with them. Like, and in terms of like the price point on them, I'm always impressed by like how reasonably they're priced compared to other brands. So for real, like they're a very, very solid product at a very reasonable price.
Yeah, and the weatherproof and sweat resistant stuff. So I wear mine a lot of the times outdoors when I'm doing like yard work and like dirty stuff. Like I've had them. I actually like I tripped and one fell out of my ear, not because they don't fit, but like because I fell over and it popped out of my ear and fell in the mud. And I was able to just take it out of the mud, brush it off, throw it back in my ear, good to go.
Durable.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I hawk-tooed on
nice.
it.
No, I love the fact that you can like control your music just by tapping it. Like I'm one of those people that like I will only ever do one trip to the grocery store. I am that person. And so like I'm always carrying a bunch of stuff, or like my phone is in my hand and I just never, or like my phone is at the bottom of a bag and I can just, the fact that I can just quickly accept a call, end a call, skip songs. So good.
I agree.
They're great for gifts. They're great for anybody.
Yeah.
They're great if you just need a backup pair in your bag if you're traveling or something like that. And they have a 30-day happiness guarantee, so you can check them out.
So head over to buyraycon.com/friends for 15% off your order and free shipping. That's 15% off and free shipping at buyraycon.com/friends. Buyraycon.com/friends. Thank you again to Raycon for sponsoring this episode.
All right. With that, let's move on to what we've been playing. We've made it. There's a lot of stuff. Maybe we start off with Concord.
Go on, man. Go on.
Go
okay.
on.
Who wants to start?
So, Ralph, you spent the most time with it, it seems like.
Yeah.
In this beta period.
Yeah.
This is an open beta?
It's a closed beta.
This is the closed,
Pre-order
opens next week.
Next week, yes.
And I think it's pre-order only, and I think one of the challenges is, like, if you look at the Steam numbers right now, it's like it's struggling to crack 1,000 players. You know what I mean? Which that's concerning for a game like this, especially given that when you pre-ordered it, you got 5 game codes. You could actually pull 5 of your friends in to play this.
Whoa!
When you
Holy shit!
And even then, let me just check the
Old Steam DB. And I mean, like, we don't know how many people are playing on
DB.
PlayStation, right? Maybe.
No, of course. There's going to be a lot of people playing on PlayStation.
Definitely.
Absolutely. That's always the case with all this stuff, right? But I I think the 24-hour peak. Oh no, that's not. That's where is it? Okay, I can't.
Also,
quite
for
see.
context, I was able to access it on PlayStation through my PS Plus membership.
Oh, I didn't realize they were doing
Yeah,
that.
that was like part of a perk.
Yes, it was. It was. They were good, and I think that also kind of tells its own story, right? In the sense that like they're just sort of giving it away in that context, and I don't know that I feel like that announcement came late.
Yeah,
it wasn't announced immediately. Like, oh, everyone's going to be able to play this, straight away.
I didn't even know about it.
In right now, currently playing in what would be a peak period because it's like Saturday in the States in the evening, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
There's 617 people playing this on Steam.
Okay.
It's hit a peak concurrent player count of 1,000. That is not a good number. That's not a good number at all. I think it reflects the lack of enthusiasm that this had from its announcement.
Yeah.
That reveal, the reveal, which was basically like, Temu Guardians of the Galaxy, and it didn't feel good. Like the story trailer wasn't good. Then the gameplay side of things came along, and it's like, oh, cool, another hero shooter. We have plenty of those. Thank you very much. I'm not super excited about that. Then there's also the reveal that this is a premium title, or at least it's a $40 buy-in for this.
Yeah.
In a genre where the expectation is this shit is free, and there are benefits to that in the sense that hopefully the microtransactions are less egregious. We'll have to wait and see. And obviously you reduce the amount of cheating that takes place because people actually have to buy their copy and yada yada. But still, I don't know, man. That it feels a bit old school to make a game like this and charge for it at this point. I mean, yeah, like if it was a really, really fantastic game that earned that $40, I'd be like, okay, cool. But I've now played about 10 hours of this, and it's good in the sense that it's a well-made video game. I'm impressed by the character kits. I'm impressed by the fundamentals of combat. I'm impressed by how tense it can be at certain points in certain game modes. But man, it hasn't got this X factor that really carries it over the line and makes you go, shit, man, hell yeah. Like this could be big, I never felt that at any time while I was playing this. I just felt like, okay, I'm playing another hero shooter. I could be playing a bunch of others. I'm playing this one instead. I've now put about 10 hours into it. I don't feel a strong desire to play much more of it. You know what I mean? And I contrast this with something like the finals, right? Because when I played the finals, I'm like, fuck yeah, man, this totally rules. I love this. This is incredible. Holy shit. And right now that still is maintaining a fairly healthy-ish community. 10,000 current players at the last time I checked. That's pretty good, Obviously not massive, but like decent enough. And that game is really good. And like that's a fucking great video game. I can absolutely, as soon as I played that, I was like, yeah, this deserves to succeed. This deserves to do well. God, I hope this does well. If this doesn't do well, it's unfair. It's sad, whatever else. Whereas this with Concord, I'm like, yeah. If this doesn't do well, I won't be super surprised. I'll put it that way. You know what I mean? Because really nothing about it stood out to me as being as demanding more of your time and more of your play.
I like the cutscenes.
The facial animations are great.
I thought the acting was
Some of the
great,
voice acting is great.
I thought the writing it did that exposition intro cutscene without being too let's go down exposition avenue. I thought they handled it really well. However, my issues arose as soon as that ended and it just dumped me into a game. Didn't give me and this is pure quality of life stuff.
Why are we killing each other?
Coming from an Overwatch player, where Overwatch gives you a shooting range. It gives you a chance to go through every single character, every single hero, figure out their movesets. I don't understand why for the beta for this, they just dump you in. And also, did you notice the time to select a character is so short? I have no idea what any of those icons were. I had no idea what any of that moveset was. I picked a character, the one who's like the little huffy girl from the opening intro. Hey something. Hey.
She was the SMG
with the hat.
No, she had a bow, like a crossbow, and I was like,
oh, her, yeah, sure. Yeah.
And then
that's like a little rocket launcher she carries around in her hand.
Yeah, and I was just like, I have no idea what any of these characters do.
Yeah.
What any of this like what I'm doing. I guess it's kill confirmed. I'm just assuming that.
It was kill confirmed.
Was kill
yep.
confirmed. And I was just kind of like, I wanted to be
I
easy,
think-
and I get that it's a beta and it's like stress testing, whatever, but like
Yeah.
as for an onboarding experience, I thought it was
I agree.
pretty miserable. But then, like
yeah.
in Discord, like if you guys go back from this morning when I was
that was
playing
great.
it was me. I would do one game and I was like, I don't think Hogwarts for me, boys. And then the next one was, wait, I just had a really good game. I might be into this. And then the next one was, no, I think I'm out.
Definitely not for me. You were the kombucha girl in that moment.
It was basically, and yeah, like some of the characters move so slowly.
What's up
They
with the
do.
dodge,
It
man?
was
What's up with that
just
squishy,
unbearable.
weird dodge?
It's I think the dodge is really good on some characters. It's very awkward on
Yeah,
others.
on like those mid-level
Yeah.
characters, like the lizard Star-Lord man and
I
rocket
like-
launcher space helmet girl. Like they're like, it's like squishy.
The thing is that the characters that were like, and again, I'm sorry to compare to Overwatch, but there is literally a Fallout, a Soldier 76.
There
Like,
he is 100%, even including the bonus move speed and the
Yeah.
man. And I like, but interestingly enough, it doesn't have any kind of supers, right? There are no supers.
which I
in
thought
this
they would
game.
have.
I thought they would have too. And like that is a massive decision for them to make that.
Yes.
It seems like a small thing.
No, that's
It's huge.
Yeah.
Because what it does is it doesn't create any how would you say it? There's no undulation
Game
in the
changer,
overall
moment
flow
changer,
of a game.
upset.
Correct.
Great
Yeah.
use of undulation, by the way. Wow.
Yeah, that was way better.
But it's just that is the brilliance of those supers because like shit's going down and you know you can really make big plays on the back of a super and like you know tip the scales once you push into that space. But now you can't because it's just kind of and every game seems like a slow sort of grind towards that finish line.
Yeah.
And it never really feels like you can turn things around. There's no catch-up mechanic, no, and that's great from a strategic standpoint. Those that just like a good, clean shooter that's all about the straight up and down, competitive, whatever. Okay, sure, but that's not what this is meant to be. Like this is a fun hero shooter, and there should be some big fun moments. And this game really struggles to produce very big, surprising breakout moments. You know, because the kits are all on such incredibly short cooldowns. That's the other thing. Like, you're using those abilities so regularly. If your abilities were more potent and could be used more sparingly, fair enough. But you're using them all the time anyway. And there's no supers. There just isn't much in that kind of like those explosive moments. And that really holds it back. There's also, and I'm actually quite surprised that this is coming out when it is, because it's dropping in like, what, a month, am I going to say?
August.
It's like a month from now.
Time.
There are a lot of things in this game that are not ready to go. You know, like for example, there's this whole like variant system for characters where you actually unlock, instead of unlocking a new trait for a character, you actually unlock an entirely new variant of that character that has a different trait. And then you have to, and you also unlock cosmetics, you know, like a new outfit for them, for example. But if you put that cosmetic item on that character trait, then your other variants of that same character can't wear that cosmetic item. Then you're like, what the fuck is that for? Like, that doesn't make any sense. There's this whole roster system as well where you make these sort of teams.
Oh, yeah.
That is so unbelievably complicated and useless and just makes no sense and adds so little value. It's about stacking passive traits within your team because basically when you select characters and you switch between characters throughout a round, you actually get passive buffs that get added onto your team and like stack over time. So the more you switch characters, the more benefit it provides to your team because you're getting more of these passive bonuses stacking, right? Cool concept in a way, but the roster system that they've worked up for it doesn't really help that goal, or if it does, it's just kind of awkwardly explained. And yeah, so there's some really major systems in this game that don't make sense yet and don't work and clearly need multiple passes for them to work. But again, this game comes out in a month, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also some of the character kits are super busted and super like, fuck man, that's way overpowered. That person's way too slow. That ability does nowhere near enough damage. There's a huge amount of balance tuning that needs to go into this. I think this is a 1.0 launch when it launches in July. I don't believe this is being August. I don't believe this is being called an early access launch. Is it?
Don't think so.
I believe so.
I think it's a 1.0. If that's the case, that's a massive problem because from a straight balance perspective alone, this game needs so much more time. You know, you need to have a couple of months worth of betas to get this thing in shape, you know? So I don't know, man. I'm not optimistic on this one. It's really not. And I've seen plenty of positive sentiment, by the way. Like I've definitely seen some people enjoy themselves, and
Yeah, it's not bad.
I can understand why. I think the other thing I would say is this: it's hard to assess this at this point properly because this can be a highly strategic game, right? There is a game mode that is a no respawn like game mode, for example, where it's like multiple round based and whatever. Those sorts of games, you really need to sink into the kits. You need everyone to start synergizing. You need to get a 5-stack team to get going, or you need to everyone in matchmaking to really have some practice and start working together on comms and whatever. That takes time, and so that's not going to happen for a while. But as another example, there's no levers penalty that takes place in those competitive game modes right now, and there's no view into what the ranked mode might be, if there even is a ranked mode. What's the penalty for leaving? So right now, when I go into that competitive mode, or the no respawn mode, as soon as we lose the first round, like 2 members of my team, they just leave. You know what I mean? That happens all the time. And I'm just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So, and if that's going to happen at launch if you don't fix this. So there's a lot of things like that.
Let me ask you a question.
Not ready.
I only played like the opening modes, like the kind of deathmatch kill confirm modes. Is there a mode that, I don't know, I feel like for Overwatch in the early days, I don't know, it was like the payload mode that like showed like, okay, this is the game. It's about working with your team members, using the powers. Is there something in this game that like shows you that feels that?
If there is that payload mode, because I actually think this would benefit quite a bit from something like payload mode. I would be surprised if there isn't something like that in the full game. I right now it's not available in this beta. The one mode that is more sort of like that is that no respawn mode that I talked about, where you actually need to capture points on the map. And there are like best of 5 rounds kind of thing. That's that winning structure. It definitely feels, I think to its credit, one thing that feels good about this is that it works really well in that tactical context, because player kits are very potent. And if you are actually synergizing your player kits well, you can do some big stuff. Absolutely. Similarly, it could also be kind of just a spammy shooter where you run around and just shoot at stuff with your guns, and it's fun. To its credit, it works on both ends of the spectrum. But unless I really, if there isn't a payload mode, that feels like it's going to be a real shame, because this game needs a payload moment. That's a good example of like that crescendo of trying to get the payload over that fucking line.
But also,
and then when
the clock is ticking,
but also
all that shit.
Payload heals you. So it was like this unconscious reason to keep people on the payload.
Exactly. Yeah. So there was a lot of that, and if this would be greatly benefit from that. Short answer to your question though, what is here is not that. What is here is either a death match, which is just running around shooting people, or a very tactical game mode that's quite punishing because of the fact that it's no respawn. There's no middle ground.
Yeah.
Correct. There's no middle ground. Right now it feels like Call of Duty and Valorant. And you kind of need something in the middle that's Overwatch, given these kits and given what this is going for. This beta doesn't have that. Hopefully the full game does. And again, that comes back to my point of like, it's hard to assess this. There's only a couple of maps as well. And the maps are pretty dull. That's another a problem that I have with this game. Visually, but they're very functional maps. They're well designed and they work well. Like you don't feel constrained by them. But at the same time, man, there's just visually, there's not much to them. They're just very basic, blocky maps that focus on playability over any kind of visual flair. Whereas compare those to Overwatch's maps, it's chalk and cheese, man. Overwatch's maps looked incredible. There's so much personality on them. And even Destiny maps, to their credit, have a lot of personality, you know? And I make that comparison because, you know, quite a few people who worked on this worked on Destiny, you know, and then you can feel that in the gunplay as well. It's one of the reasons I like it. But yeah, man, I don't know about this one.
Yeah.
I really don't know about this one.
Don't know.
I wanted to love it. I really did. I was like, come on, you know, like I love an underdog. Everyone shat on it, and I'm like, I'd be sick if it was good. Yeah. But I'm just like, I can't feel it. I really can't. It
feels really expensive. Like it's just very quality. The characters, the menus, the music, like a lot of it is very like, whoa.
Sound design is actually excellent, and I would shout that as a big plus because positional audio on it is crucial for a game like this, and they really nail that. You get a lot of info about where characters are at. footsteps and gunshot sounds and all that sort of shit. But I think the real benefit, the real like virtue of this is character kits. They really are fantastic. Some of the character kits are so inventive. There's this weird little spore guy, like a mushroom man, who runs around like shooting little spore shit. You don't even know what it does at first. You got to figure it out. And eventually you're like, oh, cool. They buff things and you can teleport around and you can do all sorts of shit. Like there's
like the
quite
guy
a
with
few kits.
the Healy orb that just kind of follows you around a little bit.
Yes, there's a guy. This is a Healy orb dude. His gun feels fantastic. There are some really derivative characters. Like there's one guy who just has like a 6-shooter who's essentially just McCree or whatever, but also mixed with like some Destiny stuff where like if you dodge, you reload your weapon, which is a move pulled straight from Destiny's Hunter kit. There's obviously for Soldier 76.
There's someone who kind of does like May who puts big walls.
There's a wall.
There's the
wall character, exactly. Yes. But yeah, like but overall though, the kits are actually quite good. There's one character who's like a big walking vacuum cleaner.
Oh yeah.
And he sucks up stuff off the ground and then he spits out other things. And he's actually really cool. So
there's a
you can do a lot
Reinhardt.
with those kits. There is a Reinhardt, absolutely. There's 100% a Reinhardt, yes. So you can do a lot with these kits. And I really like what they've done with how inventive they are. And I really hope they're able to build a great game around those kits, because once you've got that foundation in place, you've got a good start. But if it does feel like a big uphill battle for this one. Like I don't have high hopes for this. I really don't. I'm trying to think, like, again, the finals, I was like, hell yeah. The last time I played a shooter before that really made me go, hell yeah, man, was Apex Legends. And I played a bunch of shooters in between then where I'm just like, oh, I don't know about this. And this feels like one of those ones rather than being an Apex or a finals, you know?
No.
We'll have to wait and see.
So yeah.
Looking forward to the final release and seeing what the full-fledged thing is. And also seeing them do the story stuff. I mean, the characters, I can't tell yet if it's like worth it for me, but I liked what they were saying with how it's going to be consistently updated with story and like a reason to keep coming back. But like, I don't know if I'm going to like be in love with those characters to do that. And still at the end of the day, it's the gameplay more than anything.
In a weird way, that actually concerns me more than anything else, because they promised like weekly updates.
That's
on
a lot,
story.
yeah.
It's so much, and like it's just I don't want that for that type of experience. I just want a really tight gameplay experience. I'd much rather all of their money and resources go into making gameplay stuff. And I know that like, well, writers don't make gameplay. I know that, but what I'm saying is, do you really need that much story? It's like I don't think
I would rather it happen later on, like Overwatch. Like, okay, everybody fell in love with the characters, then give us some stuff.
Agree.
Then give us the sauce.
I totally agree with that. You are not going to fall in love with this game because you get a new cutscene every week. Let's put it that way. And so that feels real cart before the horse stuff. So yeah, man.
Well,
Concord, it's an open beta next week, by the way, on PC and PlayStation. So you can check it out for yourself. Yeah. Everyone can judge it for themselves and see what you think. I'd be really interested to see where it lands, but I'd be very surprised if it pops off. Very surprised.
I'll jump into something I've been playing real quick. Once Human. It is a free-to-play live service game from NetEase. And
it's microtransactions in that one.
Oh yeah, plenty. It's essentially the other one that released next to the first Descendant. This is a little bit more of like a weird Death Stranding, Division-y hybrid type of thing. Death Stranding visual style, Division, like you're a guy with a backpack running around scrounging for loot. So I jumped in, and there's some appeal, but there's a lot of it's quantity over quality. There's a lot of BS, and it is so okay. So the gist is you create a character and you drop into this world. It's like a destroyed world. There's like different dimensions and stardust and all this stuff going on, but you're doing the survival game thing. You're cutting down trees, you're building a little shitty house, and then you're crafting more materials, and you have a skill tree, kind of like Pal Worlds, where there are nodes you unlock, and the tree is really long, but it's how you unlock the ability to build a smelter and then an advanced one so you can craft better bullets. Like, it has all that stuff, and I actually like that progression track, but it's just like this weird game where there's a lot of open space that just is like boring and feels generic, like just kind of like an asset game, like mobile game, where the trailers and like the marketing and everything, like I was really in on that whole like Death Stranding, spooky, weird sci-fi thing. And that is there, but you have to push through a lot to get to that stuff. And by that point, I think I was just pretty like, okay, another survival game, you know, come on. I don't really know too much. I don't know. I gave it a shot. I put some hours into it. Ultimately, it's not for me. I'm open to these types of games. I don't like naturally get drawn to these games, but I'm open to them. And I jumped into this one because I like third-person shooters. I like a Division style thing. But it just didn't really do it for me. There's definitely a player base. I've gotten a lot of flack for like daring to say I didn't really like it. It's not for me.
Really?
Yeah. But I mean, it's free to play, so you can jump in, try for yourself. Yeah, I'm sorry, I have nothing like exciting to say about this one, but
I mean, I probably
You played it on PC.
yeah, it's only on PC and it only has keyboard and mouse.
Right.
There's no controller support yet.
Did it run well on your PC?
Oh yeah, totally ran well, totally fine.
Okay.
Is it Unreal?
I don't know off the top of my head. Actually, I should know that.
I'm seeing it's mixed on Steam, 64%.
Gunplay's all right.
So
you know the shooting.
yeah.
I actually really like the weapon blueprint system, the weapon accessories you add on, the mods. That stuff works pretty good. The character build stuff is a little weird. It's kind of just like building towards a specialization that's just from what I was able to get to. And again, it was just like first impressions, but just kind of like stat buffs and stuff like that. But also there's an element of pocket monster shit. You can collect little like creature type things that you store in your backpack. You store them back at like your little crafted base. But you can equip one in your backpack that then you can use in the field. And, you know, it's like targeting, it's buffs, it's debuffs. Some will like form a little cover for you to take cover. And so using those and like if you're playing with a couple of people and you're fighting a big boss, that's where the game is actually kind of cool because the game does have a lot of very tall, large, slow, lumbering bosses. And it's cool to see them like come out of the spooky fog towards you. Doesn't always happen, but this is where the game is good. This is where like I see the appeal. So it's like my thing was that I just wanted more of that and less of just like big, ugly Unreal Engine forest and chopping down trees and reading bad lore. You know, I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. So it's the loop is just classic survival though. It's like get somewhere, just get out.
Yes.
Make some shit. Then you got to go and kill some monsters to get some rare upgrade materials and then just keep doing that over.
And there's
over
main
again.
quests. There's main quests, side quests you can find. There's towns. There's also like it starts out with like the onboarding survival game track where it's very much the missions are like build a bed. Okay, now build a fucking chair, you idiot. I don't know, like you lizard. So yeah, I think it's worth at least keeping an eye on. I think for some people it's just going to be a thing. It is apparently also coming to mobile. So like they're clearly like investing quite a bit into this one. It just for me it just felt a little cobbled together, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, I saw a little
me.
bit of it. It looked pretty rough in the trailers that I saw as well. So it didn't really grab my. And I'm actually interested in survival games, but for some reason, just something about this one didn't really ring out.
It's a little off.
I think also the fact that it's free to play really got my back up. That's probably strong phrasing, but like, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of good survival games I could be playing that are premium games. That, you know, I'm going to know that I'm not going to get nickel and dimed on. Whereas this one, I'm like, what are you going to charge for this?
How much is this shovel going to cost?
Yeah, exactly. You know, and so for that reason, I'm naturally averse to that. No, not averse to it, but like it didn't make me go, oh, I really want to check this out. You know.
Yeah.
So
it's got all that.
Yeah.
I hope you like multiple currencies, a shit ton of different store pages and battle passes. Multiple.
I'm playing Zenless Zone Zero right now.
I was gonna say.
Ironically enough.
Yeah, please tell me what is
segue
this?
to that.
Is this a honky, excuse me,
Honky
Honkai Star Rail type thing?
Yeah. So okay. Zelda Zone Zero. It's
It's a gacha
okay.
game.
So yes, it is a gacha
So
game.
yes.
It is from MiHoYo,
Okay.
from the makers of
Hoyoverse.
Genshin Impact
Did they-
and from Honkai Star Rail.
Did they rebrand as Hoyoverse?
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I saw some comments being like, it's the old school name,
Yeah.
whatever. So I guess it's Hoyoverse
Hoyoverse.
now or some shit. Whatever. It's the same thing. Whatever. It is a gacha game. It is primarily about doing daily shit to collect currencies that are then spent on various upgrade things, but also on, rolling for new drops. And the new drops can be equipable items to make your character stronger, but they can also be characters themselves. And there's 16 characters on the roster, and so basically you play it, and the aim is to essentially finish the campaign, unlock all the characters, make them as powerful as possible, and do the end game stuff so you can continue on that treadmill forever.
Okay.
Right? I've never played a Hoyoverse MiHoYo game proper. I've only played like a few hours of Genshin.
Yeah.
Never played any Honkai Star Rail. Never played any gacha games really. I mean, the closest I played to that would be card games like Hearthstone and Marvel Snap. They're not gacha games, obviously. They're card games. But same sort of idea in the sense that, like, you're doing stuff so you can unlock some currencies, so you can, like roll the dice on, down on unlocking some new shit, right? ZZ is very good. It's a very good video game. I'll tell you that right now. It's a very good video game. I've just finished chapter 1, and that already has been like, excuse me. I'm sorry I'm doing so much coughing this episode, but I have a bit of chest infection, but I'm good. That was like maybe 8 hours to get through chapter 1. In total, that campaign is like 40 plus hours, okay? And it's fully voiced. It has some really fantastic cutscene stills that are comic book style cutscenes that are really well done, as well as just like not FMV, but like, beautifully full rendered cutscenes. Some of which are incredible in terms of their animation, and just like, it's wild the quality that they hit for this stuff, given that this is all free, So the story is not great, but it's okay. It's like, I don't know, I don't love it.
They start talking, and I'm just like, what the hell are you talking about?
It starts terrible. I agree. I was exactly in that point.
Makes you feel like 100 years old. You're like, am I a grandpa? What is going on here?
I saw people tweet before it came out. They were just like, oh, there's so much techno babble.
It is.
And
it
I was
absolutely
like,
is.
it can't be that bad. It's
No, it
just
is.
about kids fighting things. Yeah, I started
No.
playing. I was like, Jesus Christ.
It's incomprehensible
Yeah.
at point. It does eventually, through sheer repetition, it does start to make sense because you start to learn what these terms mean. But at the beginning, it's utterly impenetrable. But even at its best moments, it's not a great story, and maybe it gets better later. I don't know. But chapter 1, it was like it's a bit of a slog for sure. But the presentation is unbelievable. Like, it
Stylish.
is wild. The style of this, I've not. For real, not since Jet Set Radio have I seen a game nail this thing in this way this well.
Wow.
For real though. Like, what is the natural visual spiritual successor to Jet Set Radio? There really isn't one. Like, maybe that like Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which was clearly just trying to be Jet Set Radio again, where versus this, which it actually feels is like not an evolution of that, but it understood the fundamentals of what that is. That kind of like urban street thing crossed with a bit of sci-fi and like some music that really just hits well. Just if you play enough of it, you'll absolutely see what I mean in terms of what it's going for. And it's so good visually. It's unbelievable. And the whole presentation package is wild. It truly is. And so you're on. Sorry,
What's the like? Where do they get you? Because it's free to play, right? So are you paying to like roll the dice to unlock a new
This is another crazy
girl?
thing. You really don't. You don't need to pay anything to that 40-hour campaign. You can have a pretty good experience and experience a robust 40-hour campaign full of story, characters, boss encounters, whatever else. You can
normal
experience all of that
progression,
without
like
normal, rewarding progression that feels pretty good. You can experience that for 40 hours without paying a dime, right? You will probably in that time unlock maybe 6 or 7 of the 16 available characters. They won't be fully upgraded by any stretch of the imagination, but they'll be relatively upgraded. you can definitely not spend a dime. But then obviously there's the risk, because that's just how gacha games get you, because they want to sort of prey on your FOMO and they want to prey on your desire for more. And so they, you might saddle up for that and think, cool, that's great. But then you find yourself spending a little or a lot, depending on your level of self-control. So Austin actually reviewed this on the channel, and he said that, like, proceed with caution.
Yeah.
And that's true for these sorts of games, because these games are predatory and they do prey on those that don't have self-control. And they are all precision, like every little thing is so precisely tweaked to get you just to want to spend that little bit of money, and that becomes a little bit more and a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
So that's all true of this, absolutely. And everyone needs to be aware of that as they step into it. What's kept me playing is I'm actually quite interested in the combat side of it, which continues to kind of get better and better over time.
Because because it's relatively simple. It's like
it starts very simple,
two
but
buttons
it definitely
and then switching between and then switching back,
Yes.
and it's nice. It's like I'm not thinking about combos. I'm just having a good time.
you aren't at first,
It's
but later on,
frictionless. Like that's how
It's frictionless.
It's frictionless.
Yes.
It's just like get you in. It's the foot in the door. Get you in. Look how
Yes.
easy it is. If you spend a little bit of money, you get this other guy. It'll be a
correct.
little bit
It's
more-
just
yeah.
like Game Pass, baby. It's the same thing. It starts very simple, but it becomes much more sophisticated later on. And I know that from what I'm experiencing, but also what Austin reported in his review. But each character kit has like a little nuances in terms of like button delays, or like because there's only an attack button and a dodge button and a special attack button. That's it, right? There's also like a super button. But the way you combine those with other kits, so you can have 3 characters on the field at any point in time. And you're constantly switching between them because each one of them applies different buffs or debuffs to your party. And to be able to properly master all of that takes a bit of work to stay on top of it. And you can also modify that with how you gear out your characters. So you might be able to stack one character with bonus ice damage, and then, you switch to another character who then, when there's a status effect active on an enemy, they can then do something they couldn't do before with their special attack. And then you switch to a third character who then is able to apply their super faster when they're attacking a character who's debuffed. So you've got a debuff, you've got bonus damage, you've got a super attack stacking faster, all because you synced it up correctly and you were moving between the three characters in the right pace. So it's not super deep, but it's deep enough that it feels rewarding to like hold all. Yeah, and the way combat looks as you're doing all this just feels really good. And I've actually played the whole thing on mobile. That's the other thing.
Wow.
Yep.
Wait, with
Every single bit of
a
it.
backbone or something?
Nope, just on the screen.
What?
Just raw dogging it on your phone.
Yeah, I'm just raw dogging it. But I wanted to have that experience because I'm like, okay, 50 million people downloaded this video game. I guarantee you like 48 million of those are playing it on mobile, right?
Yeah.
I want to see what they're seeing. And it's not a great experience in terms of, well, that's not true. Let me put it this way. I expected it to be way worse. But what I didn't expect was how good these companies are at, like how good they're, what I was trying to say. They've got to a point where they know how to do this stuff on mobile. The user interface that they've designed is so much better than what we experienced years ago. The last time I tried to do this sort of stuff was literally years ago. The amount of like auto attack and the amount of like the way the camera shifts around stuff, you don't need to spend a huge amount of time controlling camera and movement and targeting locks and all that sort of stuff, because the game realizes that if you're on a mobile, you can't really do that quickly and effectively, so it does it for you. And so companies have gotten really good at this. And these guys are the best at this, by the way. Like, as in MiHoYo, the reason that they have the level of market share that they do is because they figured this stuff out to an absurd level, right? So on mobile, it plays fine, man. It plays totally fine. You'll definitely have a better play experience if you're playing it with a controller or whatever. But on screen, it is more than fine. And that's the experiment that I've been conducting, and it's been very successful. So it's actually scary how good this game is, to be perfectly honest, in a weird way. Because I look at it and I'm like, damn, man, why isn't every other game company going to do this? Like, why not? Why wouldn't they just do this? It's like, I was thinking about Persona, because a lot of this also has a lot of slice of life stuff going into it, right?
I think there is a Persona mobile game,
That's what I was thinking. There probably is some gacha Persona thing already out there, right?
I think there is one.
But I'm sure it's like a really compromised experience that doesn't feel I don't know. Otherwise, I suspect we might have heard of it more. This doesn't feel compromised. This actually feels like the kind of experience JRPG you might expect to play on a console. It really does. And so it's kind of like, damn, man, why aren't you get that feeling of like, I really hope not every company does this. I really hope that Atlas doesn't decide that Persona 7 is this shit instead. And if they did that and they really committed to it, they could make an obscene amount of money. Like so much money, it would make us all cry.
So it's not out yet. It's called Persona 5: The Phantom X.
Okay,
Came
and
out,
it's their gacha Persona game?
Oh, no, wait, hang on, sorry. It came out in China in open beta April 12th. And then Taiwan, Hong Kong, Macau, and South Korea April 18th, and then nothing. But yeah, it's a gacha. Social sim,
And
dungeon
then-
crawling, Phantom Thieves.
Totally.
Yeah. Oh,
And then you look at, apparently, sorry, what?
no, I was going to say the cognitive versions of the people met in the city, including the Phantom Thieves of Hearts from the original game, can be summoned for use through a gacha system.
Then there's like Final Fantasy. Apparently, Final Fantasy 14 apparently is getting a mobile MMO, getting a mobile version, which I suspect can't be the same one as the live game because control-wise that wouldn't work. That's in partnership with Tencent, so that makes me think like, well, are they making a gacha Final Fantasy game?
Well, they have one.
Based on 14.
What's the one that Ben Hansen was playing? Isn't it the 7 one where it's like telling the whole thing about 7 and they put it's?
Oh, that's a different one. Yeah,
But
that's
they,
not.
like that is
gacha-esque. Yes.
too.
Yeah, but then there's this Final Fantasy 14 one, which has been announced, and it's in partnership with Tencent, and it's kind of like... So I guess my point with all of this is such a good video game in the sense that it blurs the line between what is premium and thing. And Genshin's been doing this for a while. Don't get me wrong. This is not like, I know that. I've known that. But I've chosen not to participate in it to this point because I'm just like, whatever. I chose to participate in this one. Now I can see firsthand the dangers of this because it is that level of polish that and it's making so much money. Like
Hand over fist.
Honkai Star Rail made $190 million in its first month when it launched, for example. You know what I mean?
Oh, I've seen the booths that they have, Gamescom and places like that, and it's just like
they email
always
me
packed and
they email me like every fucking week with an offer to do a sponsored video for these fucking games, and the amount of money that they offer is unbelievable, right? It's crazy. It's unbelievable. And so, but this is, it makes me scared of like, is this the future for so many of our favorite franchises and genres or whatever else? Because you can see when a game of like, is this high quality and it's able to achieve this much on a little mobile device and it's able to make this much money. Damn, man, that's got to be a very compelling proposition if you're like a video game CEO thinking about what's the next big thing, like, no way are these guys not thinking about this. There's no way like Andy Wilson and
they will be. But
Zaslav and all this sort of shit aren't just like, licking their chops at this stuff.
Like there are definitely ones that don't work. And so it is like that balance. Like that was that,
of
that
course.
Final Fantasy 7 Battle Royale mobile game and
oh no.
And so it's it's weird to think, but also it's like if it's gonna be one of those things that so many companies try to do, like it just will not succeed at because you have to be a Hoyoverse at this point. Like you have to be this good at it to make sure it's a
but
success.
I think
Because
it's
like
also
Apex,
recognizing
Apex is on mobile and COD and like
they
do
they
well.
can
And
that.
PUBG, they can Apex. Sorry, PUBG does
Apex
well on
one.
mobile with Craft on.
Oh, massive,
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
massive. So, yeah, but I think game design is also iterative and collaborative in a sense, and that these guys, MiHoYo, have figured this stuff out now. Now other companies can just take these ideas and be like, well, we're just going to do that ourselves. Like why not make the I don't know.
Well, which is funny
Yeah,
because
it's-
everyone called Genshin derivative of Breath of the Wild. Like,
Which I thought was always bad criticism,
Oh,
like
100%.
bad commentary, because it's just like, it's got grass, you know what
it's
I
got
mean?
a stamina wheel.
So it's got a stamina. Like, you can glide. It's got a glider. Therefore, it's Breath of the Wild. But yeah, I don't know. Like, so I'm actually just going to continue playing it because I do enjoy it, and but I'm actually just really interested to see it through to conclusion so that I have this kind of experience ticked off in my mind of like, okay, I know what these games are now. I've seen the whole gamut of it through the campaign, through the end game. Because I think being informed about this stuff is really important to me, and knowing about this market, because I think it's going to be so influential. I don't want to let it be a blind spot in terms of like how I understand this industry.
You're so good at your job.
Yeah, I really are.
I'm just like, nah, that sucks. I don't like it.
Well, the thing is that I started playing.
Fair.
I started playing ZZZ if I was saying it back home, but like
No, says absolutely no one.
No, it's easy. I started playing it and I was really enjoying it last weekend, and then I didn't have internet for 4 days, which is also why the podcast is late. Sorry, my guys. So I'm gonna get back into it now that I have been blessed with a new modem.
Did you play something when you didn't have internet?
Dragon Age Inquisition, baby.
Wow, back at it.
Back at it again. Yeah, so I can finally say now that I'm hosting the Dragon Age the Veilguard panel at Comic-Con this year, which is insane. Like, I have been a very big BioWare fan for a very long time, a very big Dragon Age fan, and so I knew that opportunity was coming, or as in like the event was coming, so I was like, I need to replay Dragon Age because it's been a hot minute. And so I'd forgotten just how hype the moment is after you've left Haven and you go to Skyhold. I had completely forgotten about that, and there was a point, maybe I was hormonal, maybe I was a little hungover, who's to say, but I almost cried. I think it, like, I've been playing so many big games that I feel, as in like this year, like I went from, Yakuza to Final Fantasy, and those are kind of in my gaming repertoire, in my personal gaming catalog, are relatively like newer franchises for me. Going back to a game that I played 10 years ago of a franchise that I have loved even longer than that has been really kind of weird, because I can kind of go back and see and like remember these moments and remember why it was so kind of formative to me. So I've been really enjoying it and just kind of going back. And also, thing is that I've been playing a lot of other stuff that is still embargoed, and so I'll have a lot to talk about on the next episode.
Same.
Sure.
But it's been really fun to go back to. And also, like, in terms of, I definitely get that there was a lot of criticism because Dragon Age Origins plays very, very differently. And whereas from 2 to Inquisition you get more action focused. But I also think at this point I'm kind of Baldur's gated out. And so I'm kind of glad that the combat is more action focused. And because really, I'm just trying to get through the game before Comic-Con too. And so I don't want to be hitting the same wall or dragon or pride demon over and over again. I just kind of want to get through those encounters. I'm still playing on normal. And I guess if I ever did get stuck, I could just knock it down. But I'm just kind of going through for the character moments. And I tried really desperately to make a different character because I am always like either a stealth archer or an elf mage. And I made a Canary warrior, a human rogue, and then I restarted.
Went back to being a stealth archer.
I restarted and I went elf mage. Because the thing is, as well, is like the thing about the Veilguard, Solus does something, and so Solus is obviously a main character in the Veilguard, and he has very unique interactions with you if you are an elf character. I believe he only romances elf characters too, and so I wanted to get through that because then for me in my new headcanon, that would be way more fun to go into the Veilguard with. Obviously he plays a different character in Veilguard, plays the Rook and not the Inquisitor, but like I was like, teehee, I would love to see how that plays out. Anyway, so it's been nice to go back to Dragon Age. I forgot how similar the menu music is to the Baldur's Gate menu music.
Is it?
Yes.
Interesting.
The main menu music is like,
it's been a long time since I played.
Surprisingly similar.
Yeah, right. Okay.
But no, it's just nice. I like, getting back into fantasy again in a big way.
Yeah, I look forward to. I might do a bit of a. I won't replay the whole of Inquisition, but I definitely plan to replay some of it ahead of Veilguard's launch, just to like take me back. Also play through a little bit of Origins. Probably won't even bother with 2. Why? It's fine.
What a strange game 2 was.
So yeah, I remember I have like very mixed feelings about Inquisition because I definitely remembered playing through the whole thing. I even played through the DLC.
Oh, that Trespasser DLC.
Yeah. So I have fond memories of it in part, but also I'm so deeply like locked into my love of Origins that I can never really fully commit to Inquisition as being this thing where I'm like, yeah, Inquisition rules. Because I'm like, Origins was just, in my view, so much better from that combat and CRPG perspective that I just really get hung up on how basic the actiony combat was. It was good. I enjoyed it on some level, but it was so repetitive and like so simple, and it just not even a shadow of what Origins was providing. I wondered, have you ever played it on a higher difficulty? Because I've heard that if you play it on harder difficulties, it's a different game. It does actually
No.
demand you be.
But that's
Yeah.
you know what, that's not surprising to me because that's exactly how I felt about Mass Effect 2.
Sure.
Because I play Mass Effect 2 specifically on insanity difficulty because that for me is really, really fun. Like it provides that extra challenge, and also I'm at the point where I've played Mass Effect 2 too many times, so I just know
Yeah.
the game much more. I think if I'd had a little more experience with Inquisition recently, maybe I would have knocked it up, and maybe if I had a little bit more time, or maybe I'll do it for a little bit and then just knock it back down and see how it is. But I'm also having, it's one of those things where because you can only have 3 companions with you and there are such a big roster, I definitely remember when I played it through the first time, I only really used the same 3, so I'm making way more of an effort to swap everyone in and out. Like I never used Cole. And now I'm using Cole, and I've spec'd him up to be a little stabby poison boy, and I'm having a lot of fun with that. And so, I don't know. Like, if I had more time, I would love to have gone back and done Origins again. But apparently, it's basically unplayable on PC, so I would need to get the Xbox version of it. Yeah, John Luke at work was playing it, and they were saying it like, yeah, it just they got this bug where it just wouldn't even boot up anymore, just hard crashes. And
Is that on Steam? Because I think there's a version of it on GOG that actually does work.
Ooh, I didn't. So they were all massively discounted on Steam recently. So I got it on Steam for both of them, maybe for $5.
Yeah.
But also you can there is the console version that's on Game Pass. So depending.
Yeah.
We'll see. But no.
Yeah.
What I've been playing.
Nice.
Ralph, what about you? You got anything else for us?
Just been playing a lot of Destiny other than that, which you guys want to hear about. But
yeah,
want to hear about Destiny?
Yeah, I mean, you've been enjoying it.
Look, I mean,
What's it doing for you this time?
I'll save it for my review, I would say,
Okay.
because I'm working on that right now, and that's going to go live maybe this week. But it's turned out to be a much bigger week than I anticipated, and the review has turned out to be much bigger than I
How
anticipated.
long did it
as
take you to
well.
write that?
I'm still writing it. So
Okay.
that's the thing. Well, let's put it this way: the intro was 2,000 words.
Wow.
So that wasn't a good start. But look, long story short, it's a very, very good version of Destiny, and this is actually going to be the very first DLC expansion that I recommend in 4 years.
Wow.
Right? Because even though I'm always loving Destiny, I'm always like spruiking Destiny, like hey Destiny, but I've in terms of me actually recommending it to other people, the last time I was able to do that was Forsaken. So
Wow.
it is in a really, really fantastic spot in a lot of ways, and I'm very, very impressed with what Bungie pulled off here, to the point where I'm like, well, where do you take things now? Like, where do you go from this?
Marathon.
Because it feels, say again, marathon. Well, yeah, I don't know, the future of Destiny feels very uncertain, because they're like, well, how committed are Bungie to this? And they've said they're committed, fair enough. But I think it also feels uncertain, because it's like, well, how else do you evolve this formula past this now? Because what I've found is that, you know, the guys that I play Destiny with regularly, they played the expansion, and then they played the shit out of it, and they put it down again, and they were very happy with it.
Because aren't there
but they're
like
kind of-
episodes or something, like narrative?
There's like an
things?
episodic structure they're bringing into it now, which is essentially just seasons, but in a different name, but it's kind of different cadence, whatever else. But my point is, it's like people have been playing a lot of Destiny. We've played a lot of it, and we're now at a point where it's like, okay, you can give me a really good version of Destiny, and I'm going to play it, I'm going to appreciate it, I'm going to love it, but I'm still going to put it down and step away. And I think that's healthy, and that's good that we're at that point. But for some people who demand that this is playable forever, they're going to feel frustrated. And, you know, it obviously does open you up to go and play other games, and you might get pulled into their live service ecosystems, and you might forget about Destiny or whatever else. So, I don't know, like, it's hard when a game has been out for this long to keep iterating and to keep evolving without getting too far away from itself. And I think that's really the challenge for Bungie right now, because I honestly believe that they have all but perfected so many elements, so all of the critical aspects of the Destiny experience at this point. And that's what makes this expansion so special, because never before has Bungie had it so right. There's always been so much bullshit that breaks the game and makes it shit and whatever else, but they really are at the point now where they're like, nope, we figured it all out. And it's like, okay, cool. so what's next then? You know, which must be so frustrating to hear as a game maker, because you're like, we just fucking perfected it, and now you wonder what's next.
I'm on
Fuck
holiday.
you. But like, but that is the challenge of these sort of live service experiences. They need to keep finding ways to surprise and delight. And that, I think, is going to be a big challenge for Bungie, given how high they set the bar here, but also how much they have perfected all of the components of that experience. And I think that's kind of what I plan to explore a lot in the review, which will go out sometime in the future. Maybe this week, maybe next week. I don't know. There's some other games this week. There's some other things to talk about.
I'm excited for that one though.
Me too.
Do you have a spare hour free, Jake?
For
Maybe
you,
play
I
2,
do.
2x,
Absolutely.
2x speed, baby. God bless.
No, I would
Gotta
never.
love that YouTube play for
Never.
that. Oh, yes, you would.
No, oh
Yes,
my
you
god, no, I
would.
don't do that. What do I look like? A fucking Gen Zer? I need to watch normal speed. I can barely retain information as is, let alone double the input, double
Sure.
the speed it going into my brain.
Sure.
But any friend that makes
Yeah.
an hour-long thing or more, I am going to watch, because that's
Well, I appreciate
that's
that.
a big deal.
I appreciate that.
So
I
congrats.
appreciate
Also, I'm happy for you that Destiny is finally good.
that. Yeah, it is. It really is. And it's that good where I would recommend it to you guys even. And like, check it out. See what you feel like, if you've got the time, if you've got the interest, especially if you've got someone who you can play with.
Yeah.
I think you'll have a good time with it. You know, it's not radically different than you remember, but it's subtly different in enough important ways that it might be at that point where you're like, you know what, I'm actually having a great time with this now. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
With that, let's jump on over to show and tell. Before we wrap up, we got to talk about some other stuff we've been engaging with that isn't a damn video game. Lucy, you go first. You got a bunch of weird stuff.
Well, so GDQ was last week. That was great.
Game's
Been
done
really
quick.
enjoying the runs. I've been catching up. Was watching the blindfolded Mario run. Blindfolded runs are like my favorite because they are awesome, but when they go wrong, they go really wrong. And so it's just wild that people can even do that. The Elden Ring run and the DLC showcase was also really good. There was a Mass Effect 2 one, Dishonored, so it's like all games that I really enjoy. GDQ was great. The Lindsay Ellis Yoko Ono documentary, she's back on she's back on YouTube.
I started watching that. Now, is it on YouTube now? Cool.
So I don't have Nebula, but I think I'm going to get Nebula. But it's really good, and it, like, you know, I've never been a Beatles fan.
Sure.
But, you know, I know of Yoko Ono through Reputation, and it's a really great exploration about why.
She's the reason the Beatles broke up, you know.
And that's the thing. It's a whole exploration
she's
about
the
how
reason.
she got that moniker, but
right.
also talking about the fact that, hey, the Beatles were kind of fucked at that point, so
Oh,
maybe
they absolutely were.
leave Yoko alone.
Absolutely.
But the big thing I want to talk about this week is I went to see Beck.
Oh, cool.
I have been a Beck.
I remember Beck. That takes me back.
I remember Beck.
I remember Beck. Is he still making music?
Yeah.
Is he still doing the thing?
So I've been a Beck fan for 20 years, which is scary to say out loud. I have seen him, I think, maybe 5 or 6 different times over the years. This was easily the best. In San Francisco, in Berkeley, over the bridge. So not San Francisco, technically. Sorry, Bay Area people, don't get mad at me. This venue called the Greek, which is this amphitheater, and
Like from the movie.
Yeah, that's all I know from.
I think
Get into the
that- I
Greek
think
with those actors that all went on to have great careers after that.
I think that's the LA one. I think there's
Oh,
a
right,
different
okay.
place.
Okay.
Because I was like, why have they been
Fair
coming
enough.
up here? Anyway, and so it's an amazing venue because anywhere you sit, you can see, and you get a great view. And I've seen Nine Inch Nails there, and that was amazing. But it's Beck with the Berkeley Symphony, and
That's cool as hell.
Oh yeah.
and so a lot of Beck stuff, like if you go back to the 90s, which is Stereopathic Solomnia, One Foot in the Grave, Odelay, very folky, and then he started to get weird with it, working with the Dust Brothers, a lot of sampling, very Beastie Boys kind of adjacent for a bit. Then he's like, oh, I'm going to hit you with Mutations, then I'm going to hit you with a Prince funk album, and then I'm going to have the most devastating breakup album you've ever heard. Like, he went on a journey. And so the fact that he had the symphony meant that he could play a bunch of songs from Sea Change, stuff like Lonesome Tears, which apparently he's not really played for the last 20 years. because it needs that orchestral backing to really help it hit.
Wow.
And he played a bunch of stuff on Morning Phase, and I never saw him get to perform any of that. And that's one of my favorite albums. I'm sorry, Beyonce, but he did deserve to win the Grammy. I think. Actually, no, over Lemonade. I don't know. TBD. But it's still an unbelievable album. And I just had such a great time. Cried. He played New Pollution and like did his little dancing shoes. Oh, it was a great show.
Cool.
And I almost
Good. It's
didn't
exciting.
go.
Why?
I don't know, because I just haven't.
Siebes?
I haven't been listening to Beck as much recently.
Oh, I say, sure.
And then my friend Chris messaged me and he was like, "Are you going?" I have a couple people who are going, and so some of us went, and it was awesome, and I had a lovely time.
Glad you went.
Yeah, me too.
It reminded me, I've seen this like tweet doing the rounds of the Simpsons episode where they're like, did anyone order like Cypress Hill? Well, like, did anyone order the London Symphony Orchestra possibly while high? And they start doing like Insane in the Membrane.
Well, didn't they performed that this week? That's why it was.
Oh, is that why I'm seeing that
yes.
everywhere? Okay, I was like, why am I seeing this tweet everywhere all of a sudden? Does everyone just remember that the Simpsons were funny and they're just like posting this shit again?
No, they did it in London, but a friend of mine messaged me and he was like, everyone but Peter Frampton, I guess, was there. So
Okay.
I'm not. I guess
Fair enough.
Peter Frampton is the one who was in that joke. I don't know. I don't remember.
Good to know.
But anyway, music is good.
Yeah. Sorry, go. You want to
No,
go?
you go.
Well, I watched Madam Web. Okay.
Oh boy.
All right. So
How much
have
time
we all
do we
seen
have?
Madam Web?
I have
Have we all
not seen
have we all
it.
seen
I
it?
don't.
You have not seen it? Have you seen it, Jake?
I want to be high.
I've watched enough
Okay,
content.
listen.
I've watched enough YouTube videos
Listen.
making fun of it that I've basically seen it.
Okay, but this is the thing, right? This is how I felt going into Madam Web. Like, oh, this is gonna be the worst shit ever. This is gonna be so fucking terrible or whatever else. Okay. First of all, this is not a good film. This is not a good film. Okay, it's not a good film. However, the reputation that it has got, I think, is undeserved.
Oh, okay.
Because while it is not good, it is not so catastrophically bad that it deserves to be dunked on in quite the same way. Like, for example, Morbius or whatever it was is a billion times worse than this. Like a
You think
billion
so?
times worse.
Oh,
It
wow.
is so terrible.
Interesting.
That is a truly awful film that you have to laugh at because of how bad it is. Whereas this one is just kind of a bit weird and boring and awkward sometimes. And now it makes me view, what's her name? What was Dakota? What's his name?
Dakota
What's her name?
Johnson.
Before I was like, oh, what a boss. She's just like dunking on this film because she knows it's shit. But now I'm like, oh, I think she kind of did this film a little dirty. And if she like backed it a little more and was maybe, willing to go to bat for it, maybe it would have had a different reception in terms of the discourse
Because
at
like
least.
Sydney Sweeney didn't.
Yes.
She
And they-
navigated it very well. She was like, I think she, in terms of like,
I think that's the way to
Yeah.
that's the way to play it. Like, again, this is not a good film. I want to be clear, it's not a good film. It's a bad film, in fact. Okay, it's a bad film, but at the same time, it's not so bad that it deserves what it got in terms of that like that meme discourse and whatever else. Because ultimately, it's I'd say what the biggest problem with this movie was. Dakota Johnson. She's
Interesting.
she's so just. Why was she in? Like, she's just so uninterested to be in this movie. She's so like in every scene, she just it's like she just seems annoyed to be in this film. Do you know what I mean? Whereas these other actresses that are there, they're really like trying to go for it. Even Sydney Sweeney's like trying to look like this dorky girl is completely
never.
failing. By the way,
Yeah.
just completely failing. But Dakota is just really constantly annoyed with everyone and everything and whatever. Not great.
it's because her
But,
mum, her mum went missing searching
She
for
died while
spiders.
researching
Died while
spiders in
researching
the
spiders in the
Amazon.
jungle.
Okay, but hear me out on this. Hear me out on this. Did you know that this movie is primarily about a Spider-Man who is hunting these women to kill them? Did
Yeah.
you know that
No.
this is what this movie is
No.
about? No.
I have no idea what that
I
movie's
did
about.
I did not know this either. I had no idea. So imagine Spider-Man, but not Spider-Man. It's not Peter
Evil
Parker or whatever. It's a
Spider-Man.
different person. With all his powers and all his capabilities, except swinging, funnily enough. But he's going around and he's hunting these women, trying to kill them for a certain reason. And it's scary to see a Spider-Man do that because Spider-Man can fuck you up if he
Yeah, it's a
wants
good
to,
idea.
right? It's a cool idea, and some of the scenes actually execute on it pretty well. Some of them really fail at it. But like, that is a cool concept. And I was like, if you led the marketing on that front, like a dark Spider-Man hunting these girls, I reckon a lot of people might have been interested to see that movie. And they buried the lead on that, and they just made it about like boppy teenagers doing bullshit. And they're not even teenagers, by the way. They're all like probably like late 20s, early 30s.
Hollywood
Adult
teens.
women, whatever else, made to look like teenagers. So
Do you remember
yeah,
when
man,
they announced
I
this
don't know.
movie? I remember way back when they announced this movie, and they're like, "We're making a Madam Web movie," and like knowing who Madam Web is, I was like,
Sure.
"Oh, you probably shouldn't. Like, you probably shouldn't do that." But okay. And then for a while, it was like in development hell for years, and I was
Yeah.
like, "All right, they're not making that." And then all of a sudden, there were set photos, and it's like they're making it. There's Dakota Johnson in a red jacket, and I was like, "Oh man."
Yeah.
And now here we are.
It's yeah, so look, I actually do recommend watch it with some friends.
Okay.
Go in with low expectations, and I suspect that you will actually have your expectations exceeded because it is not as bad as people say. And I think Dakota Johnson did it a little bit dirty in that press tour.
Damn.
But
You
she
heard it
did
here
fully
first.
defeat. She
Skill
did
up.
defeat Ellen DeGeneres, though. Do you see that?
That was good.
She's out of I did see that. I did see
Ellen's
that,
done.
Yeah.
But
Ellen's
now
She's
out.
done now. She's like she
done.
says that she's stepping out of the public light.
Yeah.
But what I will also say is I'm also reading Ultimate Spider-Man run right now. You're not reading that, AJ?
way back when it was.
No, as in like
Oh,
the
current.
new one, like the new run,
No,
the current
no.
run. Yeah, like because they just rebooted it and it's like it's exceptionally good.
No
right
way.
Now. Like
Okay.
exceptionally good.
All right.
It is crazy how well it is written.
I can just see
So-
Jake
and,
adding
yeah,
it
and
to
everything.
his.
That's
For
me.
real, like,
Yeah,
good
I'm
luck getting-
I'm over to my
good luck
mouse.
getting-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck getting copies because like yeah, dude,
Who's
I had
writing
to pay
it?
like Himrick.
Okay.
I had to pay like $30 for issue 2, and that was like a second printing, by the way. It's crazy. Like they're up to 4th and 5th prints on some issues
Wow.
because it's so popular.
Wow.
So
Okay. I gotta look into that.
seriously, very good.
Thank you.
Very good.
All right.
Hmm.
All right. Well, that has been show and tell.
Wait, Jake, what have you been doing?
What's your show and tell?
yours?
Hang on.
Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry. Mine's brief. The Bear season 3.
Don't spoil it.
No, but I will defend it.
Okay.
Because it is. People have been disappointed with it being kind of like a season that spins its wheels.
Right.
There's not a lot of movement forward. There's not a lot of progression of anything with any of the characters. It can be argued. But for me, I like this world, these characters so much that I am happy to spend time with them, even in a season where not a lot really happens. Like the conflicts set up at the end of season 2, not a lot of resolution happens, but it's more time with those characters, more getting to know them, more moments that I just love. Where like I like shows like Breaking Bad, but as Breaking Bad started to go on, I was like, this story is too good. They can't drag it on forever. They got to wrap it up. But then you have shows like Succession or shows like this where I'm like, damn, I could have spent like an eternity with these characters. They're so interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm still into the Bear, and I like the season. I don't know. It was cool. A couple of really good moments. One good thing with Carmi that doesn't go the way he expects. Just felt very realistic, and I really like it. The Fack brothers get more highlights. Tina gets her moment. Like there's good stuff there. It's still totally worth watching. If you like the other 2 seasons, don't like get turned off by hearing you still gotta watch it.
I think the idea of like it spinning its wheels is weird criticism because that's kind of what I loved most about that show in a way.
There were
like,
plenty of episodes in the other season that didn't do fuck all.
Yeah.
And it was great.
I really liked that stuff. Like the episodes where that guy just goes to Denmark and just like learns how to make pastries or whatever, you know?
He meets like sexy Will Poulter.
I
Like
want
Will
that
Poulter,
life
but
for
hot.
me. I want to go to
yeah,
Denmark.
and so like I don't know, like it just that's always seemed like strange criticism to me.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like I love that show. I think it's fantastic. So, do you remember what was that show on Apple TV about that coach who was always happy about everything? What was that?
Ted
show?
Lasso.
Ted Lasso.
Is that show still running?
No.
No, it's over.
Is that how many seasons did it do?
3 or 4?
I only watched the
Yeah,
first
right, okay.
season of that show. I absolutely adored.
Yeah,
and then
I liked
everyone
it.
was saying like season 2 not so great, and then apparently season 3 shat the bed. So
Season 2 was so bad.
didn't even
Oh my
watch it.
god! It just got
Yeah.
like it became like this big therapy session about like why everyone was sad, and it was kind of like the whole point of the show was to make you happy.
yeah,
So I was just thinking about that the other day. Like I don't
Yeah.
know, just popped into my head. I couldn't even remember the name of the show, but yeah. Anyway.
Isn't that crazy? Anyway.
Mm.
This has been another episode. Thank you guys for listening, watching,
Yep.
rating us on all the podcast platforms or YouTube or whatever. Keep your eyes peeled for that newsletter. Lucy, where can people potentially find that?
friendspersecond.substack.com. We'll tweet about it too.
Yeah.
Yes.
And probably put it in the description. We should probably do that.
Well, with that, any last words, kids?
No.
I think, can we say what we're doing in Germany yet?
I don't know.
What if we didn't? What if we just left them with this?
And then
And
we'll
didn't-
double check.
Yeah.
And
We will
say.
double check things that we may be doing at Gamescom in Germany. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
Be
Okay?
excited.
Let's put it that
We're
way.
all going to
So,
Gamescom.
That's it. That's all
Please
I got.
look
just
forward
a,
to
just
it.
a morsel. Please look forward to it and tie your
Yep.
shoes and go to bed.